Today, we are going to be telling you what classic games deserve the Metroid Prime treatment.
Remakes are riding high. We got Metroid Prime, Resident Evil 4, people are going gaga over.
Yes.
We are wondering, what is the next wave of games that people could remake and get this same kind of reaction? We got a great list.
Yeah, we have a really good list. This is pretty interesting because these games are like shooting up the Metacritic charts. Could they be considered Game of the Year contenders?
Right.
Even as remakes? So, kind of an interesting
It's a hot topic.
Hot
Indeed.
topic.
Yeah.
As always, everything that you see here, all of our wonderful content that we make is made possible by our Patreon subscribers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for subscribing to our Patreon and supporting us. If you'd like to join us, we are at patreon.com/KitandKrysta. Support this wonderful discussion that we have every week about the insides of the video game industry.
Right. I had to put down in a tweet recently, like, what is the Kit and Krysta difference? Because I
saw that too.
Sometimes we get lumped in with other content creators, like, and fine, they're doing their thing, but what do we not have? We don't have insider sources in the shadows. Are they real? Are they not?
Right.
I don't know. Are we just putting out nonsense into the ether? See what sticks?
We're not putting out like weird clickbaity things that are from like conjecture or from some rumor mill, whatever.
And passing it off as like the hard and cold truth.
Exactly.
No, we're not doing that.
What we're telling you guys is like real industry insights because we work there inside the company collectively for almost 26 years.
Right. And if we say we think something is happening, that is based on like all of those experiences over the decades.
Yeah.
The wisdom.
We know how they work. We've been inside their little head.
You are just like the old man in The Legend of Zelda in the cave giving Link the sword. You are that old man.
I am the old man.
That is you.
That's me. I got the apple, I got the sword, I'm happy,
and
I'm old.
I'm in the fairy fountain. I'm frolicking free in the fairy fountain.
That massive fairy.
But you are that grizzled old man. That's you.
That scantily clad outfit
in
the fairy fountain.
Yeah, I'm having a great time. And you're stuck in a cave.
All right.
But yes, Patreon.
But yes, support the frolicking fairy and this old man.
And the banter.
On patreon.com/KitandKrysta. We do have like real benefits also for our wonderful Patreon subscribers, including bonus Q&As where we answer our spiciest questions.
Which you only get on Patreon.
Obviously early access. We have tons of content right now across the channel with our experiences from Super Nintendo World, and all our Patreon subscribers get early access to all those episodes.
We have monthly hangouts. We have a tier where you can help us make all of our content, and we even have a free trial on our most popular tiers. So if you want to check it out, that's a very easy way to do it.
Yeah, and of course our wonderful Discord server is where all the happenings are happening every week, every day, and we're there every day with our wonderful community.
That's right.
Hanging out, chatting. All right, we got a lot going on.
This is an extremely busy week for us. So
we really do have a lot.
By the time you hear this, it's either Wednesday or Thursday, or who knows when. Midweek. We have a proper video every day this week.
We do, yeah.
So we have put out by now here's Chef Toad. We've put out the Toadstool Cafe video from Super Nintendo World.
Yes.
People are talking about that.
Yeah.
What doesn't have mayonnaise? What would you order if you're on a limited diet? I don't know.
Yeah, we are very honest with our review of Toadstool Cafe, which is a big highlight that we were looking forward to going into Super Nintendo World. That was like one of the things that we were both really excited about, and we have some things to say to you about the Toadstool. Chef Toad, you're going to hear a critique from us.
Just cowering in terror over here.
I saw a comment on the video this morning that was like, remind me never to eat dinner with Kit.
Why? There's one thing I don't eat. And yet somehow I get labeled a picky eater, whatever. So that is out. We will have also, in the end of the week, our final video from Super Nintendo World, the secrets of the power-up bands.
Yes,
right.
We discovered some stuff with the power-up band, and we have some tips with the power-up band. Some things that like I don't see a lot of other tours of Super Nintendo World.
They can't do it. This is skill-based.
Oh, skill-based.
We had the skills to do this. We got in that door.
We got lucky because we had some problems.
What are you talking about?
Well, you'll watch the video on Friday and then you'll know because there was like some real like razor's edge moments
fine.
of whether or not we were going to be able to do it. And I was getting a little nervous towards the end of the day. Just a little bit.
A little aside, last week I lost power for about 3 days. We had these awful storms. My power was out.
Really?
I couldn't charge my watch, so I took it off and I was like, gosh, it feels weird to have nothing on my wrist. I wore my power-up band.
Shut up.
I did.
You did not.
Yeah. That toad with the Wonder Bread pattern. Yeah, just wore that out and about.
Wonder Bread?
Oh, I was like, this is nice. This is a good accessory. Forget this watch, functional. Who needs that? Oh, look cool.
They should make a Apple Nintendo partnership power-up band.
What are you talking about?
Where like they can like on the watch face, it can just be like whatever.
I'll bet if you wanted to take the strap off of the band and put it on the watch, you could probably do that. Make it like a slap bracelet.
Oh, that's cool.
This is a terrible idea. I hope nobody does this.
This is a good partnership. Apple and Nintendo, get on it. Universal, whatever.
Also out by now, we have another video
Yeah.
with more 3DS eShop games to get in the dwindling days
Oh my
that
gosh.
you still have before the end strikes.
These are the golden
These
moments.
are
before...
the end days. Say whatever you needed to say to your 3DS, because this is it. Now,
It's starting to feel pretty real.
something I want to say to all the people out there.
Deep cuts?
This is the second video. The first cut, there were some comments of like, yeah, I knew all about these.
These are deep.
Guess what, people? We got to start there, and now we're going way deep.
This is way deep.
So if you have all of these games, or you know about all these games, pat yourself on the back.
Yeah.
Because you're a real one. I think a lot of people don't. We've even got, I didn't realize this until I was doing my research. All those DSi games are also going away.
I know.
So we got a bunch of those.
Those DSi games, some of them are
Valley
like,
Parking 1989, my highest recommendation. That game's good.
That game is really good.
is a silly premise, but it's really good.
It's really good, yeah. Sploosh?
It is on the list for dubious reasons that we'll get into in the video.
Reasons that you'll find out if you watch the video.
Yeah.
I saw that on the list and I knew exactly why you put it on the list. I was like, oh,
Self-promotion?
here we go.
Self-promotion? Yeah.
Here we go.
We are not doing another Wii U video
isn't anymore?
because we recommended 5 games and that was a challenge.
That was kind of it, guys.
I'm not sure there's 5 more games that I really want to recommend on the Wii U.
I don't think don't
yeah.
save your pennies. Focus on the 3DS games because they're legit good games that you should get and have.
Yeah.
So
also, shout out to our friend Gerard.
I was just gonna
who had an
say.
amazing video over the weekend where he bought everything.
Oh my gosh.
The full catalogs.
That is insane. It was like $20,000 to do or something like that.
That video was funny because like along the way he hit so many roadblocks.
I know.
Where it was like, they think I'm money laundering, buying all of these
eShop cards. And then the storage issues.
You couldn't
need
fit it,
1 terabyte, 2 terabytes of storage. Obviously, that's not possible
Hilarious.
on like a system that old.
Right,
So
right.
we do. Wow.
Giving Nintendo your money has never been harder.
I know.
That's why they have to shut it down.
Nintendo, do you want
Yeah.
$20,000
Guess
from
not.
Gerard, the completionist? I mean, gosh. That's insane, though. I was so impressed that he did that video because I was like, "Wow, that's a feat.
that video
Truly
went pretty viral, and it has like a happy ending to it. So I recommend you check that out.
Yeah, good for him.
Also, this week are 2 big events. One we're going to, one we are not. We are going to GDC.
Oh,
Why are you looking so confused?
Which one are we not going to?
PAX East
Oh, okay.
is also this week.
I was like, why are you? What event did you decline an invite to that you didn't ask me
Shout
about?
out to the brave people in the industry that have to go from GDC to PAX East. We have done that. That is not easy.
That is really hard.
That is tumultuous.
Yes.
You're probably going to get very sick.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Take your zinc.
Drink some water.
Wear a mask on the plane.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. Drink water. Yes.
PAX East, it's just a little bit far away for us.
Yeah.
So
we're also not like cold people. Like we're really bad in the cold. Every time I've gone to PAX East in the past, I come back and my skin basically like falls off.
Need to apologize to my Scandinavian progenitors
Yeah,
who would.
You have no excuse. I come from a hot climate, so
I wasn't born there.
my gene pool. That's not my fault. Okay, I cannot be in the snow and the wind and the nonsense. Anyways, but yes, PAX East is this weekend. We will not be there.
No,
but
GDC we are going to.
GDC is in our backyard.
Multiple days. We're not actually going to the show.
There's so many events like outside in and around the show.
I always have a weird feeling about GDC because it's like these developers need a place to go to talk amongst themselves and not be bothered by the likes of us.
They don't need to be bothered by us, like us little outsiders. Who cares?
Right. So we're not going to that part of the show, but there are other events where people are showing games and you can talk to people. So we have some really good stuff lined up that you probably won't see too much about this this week, but
we'll vlog it
soon we will have something recapping all of that.
Yeah, we're really excited. It's going to be really fun, and it's very, very lucky that GDC is right in our backyard, so we can have the opportunity to meet up with people, and we're excited because we get to see some people that we haven't seen in a long time. So kind of cool. All right.
So also a very exciting thing that has happened by now this week is the announcement of the Kitten Krysta custom controller.
Limited edition.
Oh my goodness.
Custom controller that we made in partnership with the wonderful one and only Captain Alex, who has been part of our community from the start. We're great friends with Captain Alex, and so we could not be more excited to partner with him on the limited edition Kitten Krysta controller.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we just would not have been able to do without the strength of our community. So it's really a great thank you to all of you who have been with us and continue to support it. I think it looks incredible.
It's so freaking cool.
Front and back design.
Yes.
Alex is such a talented artist.
He's so talented.
I was just blown away. And anytime we would give him like a comment, like, can you do this? Maybe think about this. He would like know exactly what we wanted.
It's been such a joy to work with somebody that is as passionate as we are and also knows our community because he's part of it.
Right.
So I think in terms of, saying that this is truly a celebration of like this community that we're building, like this independent thing that we started a year ago, like this is truly like a physical thing that is the culmination of that.
Exactly.
Which I never thought in my wildest dreams that this would be something that we would be able to do, and it's super exciting.
Right. So we have a full video out kind of going through the ins and outs of that. But the pre-orders are open now.
Yes.
If you pre-order through the end of this weekend, you get free shipping.
Yep.
All of our Patreon subscribers will always get free shipping,
of course,
on this controller.
Thank you, Captain Alex, for setting that up. For
Captain Alex himself is a Patreon subscriber.
He can ship it to himself for free.
He's looking out for everybody.
He is.
And Alex is at PAX East with the prototype controller. So if you want to look at this thing and like pick it up and check it out, like go look at his booth.
Yeah. He's there in our stead at PAX East with the stuffs.
Right.
The goods.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's kittenkrystacontroller.com if you want to learn more.
Yeah.
So, we're
check it out.
Super excited about it.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Into our story time.
Yes.
As I was sitting in a dark home with no power, watching a gale force wind just blow over everything in my backyard, I thought, well, this is the story we need to tell this week.
Yeah.
This is the story of the Pokemon HeartGold and SoulSilver launch that I was a part of back in 2010. We had a big launch event in New York that was, ran afoul with bad weather.
Yeah.
But let's back up. So this was the first Pokemon game that I worked on at Nintendo. And for many years, I was the Pokemon guy for public relations.
It does, the Pokemon lead for public relations gets passed around because no one can do it for too long.
People get fed up.
Burned out. So it went from you to me and then to another person on our team right after I stopped doing it.
So I started early in 2009. So I had been at the company for about a year before I got this assignment. And I had been in touch with the person who had been doing it up to that point, and it was known, like, all right, Kit's going to take this over.
Yeah,
this other person
kind of challenging, though. This is a challenging project.
Yeah, this other person was she was a contractor, so she was actually moving on to something else. Yeah, she's like, you can figure this out. But at that point, I felt pretty, well-versed into everything that I needed to know. And the thing about Pokemon campaigns is, like, they are a little bit formulaic.
Right.
Like, you are not reinventing the wheel every time. It's like the Pokemon company makes a rollout.
You do some preview
You execute that. The developer might come over.
Right.
And you would always culminate it with a big launch event.
And it's usually in New York.
Right.
It's usually, in and around the Nintendo New York store, or kind of in that Rockefeller Plaza. But it is quite like there's these very kind of specific beats of activity that you would do. And working with a Pokemon company, you're very limited in like sort of creativity around that as well.
Yeah. And at this point, I should say, the games were not launching simultaneous worldwide.
Right,
So the game had been
right.
out in Japan for a good while.
Yeah.
Months.
Yeah. A couple months.
So this was truly like the US release. The point about the launch events, like this was kind of a complaint that I had about that era of Nintendo was like the PR team seemed incredibly invested in all of these launch events for so many games.
Yeah.
And it was like, why are we doing these?
Why is the PR team doing
Why is
it?
the events team not leading these? What
Right.
is the actual value of these events?
Yeah, because the coverage we would get, like this was back in the day, like what, 2010? Social media wasn't that big yet.
No.
So it was very much like traditional
Yeah.
news outlets.
Right. Get the local news to come out.
Yeah, and we would do it in New York so that there would be like a chance to get expanded media.
Right.
And like the whole point of it was, oh, let's try to see if like the Today Show will cover it.
Exactly.
Or some like GMA, like Good Morning America, or like, you know, more of those kinds of non-gaming outlets. But it never really panned out for these launch events. Like Good Morning America did not give two shakes about a HeartGold SoulSilver launch event.
And these events were like a crushing amount of work.
And expensive.
Right. So I was never a believer of these.
Yeah.
And eventually I spoke up more and more of like, we need to stop doing these. And eventually
we did.
We slowly did, and our events team did start to pick up the slack.
We started to do it like for like really big launches, like huge launch games, like Odyssey. We would have like a bigger thing. But this used to be for like every little game.
I remember when I joined, you were like, oh, we just did this event for personal trainer cooking. And it was like a supermarket sweeps kind of thing. And I was like, well, that sounds cool, but it also sounds like a huge waste of time.
We also did it for mystery case files where we had some sort of like crazy pancake breakfast. It was ridiculous. Well, I don't know. We hired actors. That's a different story.
Yeah.
But it was like, they were very involved.
Yeah, so this was a major disconnect I had early on at the company. I was like, why am I spending all my time doing these events? This is not what I want to do.
It's not what you signed up for.
But in the case of this big Pokemon game, this was a non-negotiable. So you have to have a big launch event.
Right.
The game before this was Pokemon Platinum.
Right.
And they had a big event for that at the Nintendo New York store with the plaza. They had all these activities, and they had these distributions, but there were these whispers of something happened with the distribution.
The distribution got hacked.
The distribution got hacked, and what was actually going out was extremely offensive.
It was really bad.
So nobody was really willing to talk in great detail about it. But what you heard was very bad, and the feeling was like, yeah, maybe let's do something a little different with this event.
Because again, they were pretty formulaic up to that point, but then that was a pretty big like black mark. Look it up if you want to, but it was a little bit embarrassing, very embarrassing. So yeah, so they were like, let's do something a little out of the box, and so you came up with an idea.
Yeah, so this was the game that had the Pokewalker,
That's right.
which I love.
They should make that into an Apple Watch.
I think this is actually, not everything has to be an Apple Watch. If I want to clip 19 Pokewalkers in my belt, let me do it. Mr. Iwata used to do that.
He did.
He would have multiple Pokewalkers.
He had like 3 or 4.
At all
it was
times.
like a Batman belt, but with like multiple Pokewalkers.
He was such a snappy dresser. He would often like come to in like a three-piece suit, but he would do that move where he would pull
the tail, the
jacket back, and you could see
like a row of Pokewalkers,
like Batman's utility belt. Like
it was so.
He had like a half dozen Pokewalkers.
It was so awesome.
It was like yes, I love you.
He is like the coolest person ever, honestly. But we all did. We all
Oh my gosh, I was so into the Pokewalker.
So many like different fun ways of wearing the Pokewalker. I think I did like a necklace one time. I had like a bracelet. Yeah, I'm a Pokewalker
fan.
Bring it back.
I actually think this is my favorite Pokemon game, HeartGold, SoulSilver.
It's a good one. Yeah, it's a really good one.
They just really like nailed everything about that.
Yeah.
So you had the Pokewalker. One of the whole big hooks was like, walk around, be active, and like grow your Pokemon while you're doing that, which was a great idea. So we came up with this idea of like, well, what if you did something where you had people go on a real life walk and get a feel for that and see the Pokewalker in action and kind of reinforce these great selling points for the game. So we built out that idea and we decided like, yeah, we could probably do that. We need to find a place that's not the Nintendo New York store. We ended up partnering up with the Toys R Us in Times Square.
That's right.
Is that also Military Island?
It's around there.
It's right around
obviously
there.
Toys R Us is no longer.
Toys R Us is gone.
It's gone.
Sadly. But
Yeah.
they had a space outside of their store where they're like, yeah, we'll help you get this space and you can set up your thing and you can do it there. And it's like, wow, that's great. Toys R Us aligns really well with the people who are going to get this game. We have the space. Perfect.
And it's like a touristy area too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you would get like natural
Yeah,
foot
people would just be like,
traffic.
what's this? I want to see this. Great
Right.
visuals.
Really cool
everything
visuals,
you would want.
Beautiful, yeah.
So we start to, get into the specifics, and we found this vendor. These vendors, I don't know how people found these people.
Oh my gosh.
So this guy
Yeah.
could make these custom decals that he would not permanently. You can't permanently do this in Times Square, but he would
Because New York never
affix
let you.
them to the ground.
Yeah.
So you couldn't peel them up or kick them off. They were attached onto the ground.
Yeah.
And we would have 12 of those on this walk that we
Yeah.
would go through in Times Square.
Pikachu's footprints that
Exactly.
they were making. And the whole idea was that you would have you would follow the footprints
Right.
with your Poke Walker and do a little
Right.
walk around Times Square.
And once you got to certain stops, the person leading the demo would be like, all right, now look at how many steps we've taken. Now let me show you this thing you can do on the Poke Walker.
It's like a little scavenger hunt thing.
Exactly.
So cute.
And then at the end, you would get some sort of a tchotchke.
Yeah.
So a very fun idea, extremely relatable to the games. Everybody's like, great, this is a great idea, let's do this. So we get to New York, and I should say, early in my career at Nintendo, I had a reputation for being bad luck
You are bad luck.
with weather
You are bad luck.
at these sorts of
I
events.
think you might have kicked it recently because there was a huge stretch of time where every single event, not even that you led, that you attended, would have some sort of catastrophic weather misfortune. So you were barred. There were some times where I had an event you can't come.
Fine.
You
Make
cannot come because
my life is easier. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna you're gonna bring the rain or some sort of horrible weather.
Great. So as I'm traveling to New York, these reports start to, you see huge storm is coming through New York, rain, wind, the whole deal.
Yeah.
I was like, you start to get that pit in your stomach.
Yeah, when you have an outdoor event that you're
Right.
planning that has cost hundreds of thousands of dollars,
Right.
you start to get a little nervous.
And that was always the talking point of the people who wanted to be real high and mighty of hey,
what is your rain contingency?
what's your rain plan?
They always have a rain contingency.
And a lot of these events you kind of couldn't have a full-on rain contingency.
It's some real lame contingency, we'll tent it. Something like that.
Well, that's actually
we'll give out umbrellas.
That's not a bad one, having a properly tented event, but we couldn't do that. So it was we'll do it in the store.
was always the case.
We'll take people on the tour in the store. We can't have these cool decals. We can't do it outside, but we'll do it somehow in the store. It's whatever, fine. But yeah, that was always the what about this line that people would drop.
What about the rain contingency?
Yeah.
It's always the rain contingency. Shut up about the rain contingency.
Oh gosh, but in this case, yeah. So I get to New York, it's pouring rain, blasting rain.
Oh, it's horrible.
And at this point, I'm
It's not even a light drizzle.
No.
It is torrential downpour.
and the wind and it's this is miserable. And I'm refreshing it again. Weather.com. That was where I had to go in 2010. I was refreshing weather.com every 5 minutes.
You
What's
don't
happening
get
now?
the nice models that you do now.
No, what's happening now? What's happening now? What's happening now? And it was basically saying
for the entire weekend.
yeah, through the whole weekend,
Yeah.
the time that they need to set this up, the time it's going to be happening, absolutely awful rainstorms. So it's we start talking again about this contingency, what we're going to do. Everybody's feeling really bad. And it's I don't know. But as we get closer and closer and it becomes time for this vendor to do whatever he's going to do, to iron these things on the ground or something, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but it probably can't do it in the pouring down rain.
You started to hear there might be a window, there might be an opening for this guy to get these things down. And once he gets them down, they're good. So it's all right. But he's but the window's happening basically at midnight.
It was
the night before.
Yeah, it was literally the middle of the night.
Right. So it was all right, I'm going to be out there in Times Square. I'm going to do this. I'm going to give it my best shot. And we'll find out in the morning
Did you go?
If he was able to do it. No, I didn't go. What is I going to do?
I don't know, just supervise.
Yeah, it's a good job, buddy.
Hold that umbrella over a second?
No, so what this guy ended up doing was he put himself in a tent. And he moved the tent step by step as he was laying this thing down. Because he had to dry the ground.
It's like a blow dryer.
And again, whatever he did to stick this thing on the ground, he did it.
You gotta pay that guy extra.
So-
who is he?
I don't know.
That guy deserves. This is MVP.
How can you make this a career? Ironing stickers onto concrete?
I think people want
I don't know.
this.
So I woke up. It's yeah, he did it. And like the rain didn't stop, but it was like a light drizzle. So it was like, this thing is on. We are doing this thing. I was like, yes, we did it. So we go to the thing, and like some people are like, oh, we got these gigantic golf umbrellas that are yellow. They match the Pikachu. We have the Pikachu costume. Like put people in these like yellow ponchos. So it all ended up working out really.
The photos from that event is amazing.
Yes.
Because it's just people running around in ponchos.
It's people it's like kids like stomping in puddles with Pikachu. It's like, this is perfect. This is what we want. There's a great picture of me I found as I was doing research for this with a Pokewalker going like, whoa! I'm making like a YouTube face back in 2010 looking at this.
Like you knew.
Pokewalker. And the thing went great, but that was like one of several like weather near misses that I had around these.
It's not a near miss.
These ridiculous.
It was a weather catastrophe.
Well, it was. We almost had to cancel this event, basically.
There's another Pokemon event that had another weather catastrophe that I was there for that we should talk about later. Yeah. It was another one of yours.
I mean, there's like a handful of these.
Because you're bad luck.
Whatever. So again, happy ending, great game, great event, great picture of me.
Bring back the Pokewalker is the PSA from the story time.
Yes, again.
Bring it back.
So that's why last week, again, when this like awful storm was passing through, I was like, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. And it's March. That was March 14th, and it's March 20th today. So
you should have put Pikachu footprints around your house in the dark, in the middle of the night, as a way to celebrate the storm that you brought to California.
All right.
So you should have done.
You have some interesting ideas about how it might be fun to be stuck in a house with no power.
I thought maybe it's like romantic, you know?
The romance of a candlelit night at home.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's awful.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I told you I could catch up on my whittling.
You could like read like the good book or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Could just kind of hang
Knock out a couple chapters there,
Yeah, just,
fiddle.
Play your fiddle.
Go to bed at 7 like the farmers did, I guess. Yeah,
exactly. Milk that cow,
It's a solid day.
By the lamplight.
It's an honest day. It sure is.
It's like pioneer life.
Everybody loved that, didn't they? Oregon Trail, confirmed.
Dysentery?
We're moving on to our Never a Minute segment, where we're going to talk about the games that need the Metroid Prime treatment, or recently, maybe the Resident Evil 4 treatment.
Oh boy. Yes.
So we have each chosen 3.
Yes, we have.
And we have some great submissions from our Patreon subscribers.
Yes.
What is the point to tell you that I actually have several more than 3?
Oh.
Well, I needed some in case we choose the same game.
Oh.
But
I don't think we did.
Oh, all right. I'll let you go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
My first one is one of...
What? Sorry. Before we jump in, I think we should agree on like what are the criteria for these games, because it just can't be like, I like this game, they should remake it. I think there are.
Well, it needs to be and I'm going to interrupt you.
Yes.
I think it should be a game that can hold up to modern day sensibilities.
Absolutely.
And be like still like it should be a game that people still talk about.
Yeah.
In 2023.
Yes.
Like it's like IP that they know about still, that's still popular.
Yeah.
Blah blah.
Right.
Blah.
Right.
Blah. Yada yada
Yeah.
yada.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. I think it's a game that like felt ahead of its time when it came out, like these two games do.
Yeah.
I think it still is something that stands on its own among like the best new releases of today.
Right.
Like these games are. And I think it's a game that you can remake without having to make a ton of changes.
That's right.
It's like, this was good then, it's still great now.
Yeah, you do some like nice, really good graphical upgrades. Right. Maybe you like do some, quality of life, like QOL stuff to make it like easier for controls, like what they did with Metroid. Like, I mean, I think that is... Yeah. You can't like say like this game, let's just totally change it, like redo the franchise. Like I feel like that's not the criteria.
Right. Okay.
With that in mind, my first game is I think this game was underrated on this console when it came out. X-Men Legends.
Oh,
for the GameCube.
Wow.
This was like legit one of the best games on the GameCube. Besides Mario.
Definitely one of the best multiplayer games. But this was on a lot of other systems. This was on everything.
This is on everything. But I personally played it on GameCube. And I remember it being very underrated. And it was one of those things where it's like, this game is such a good multiplayer game. And we have seen some really good like Marvel
well, this is the series games that became Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
That's right. Yeah. It was like the sort of like the first of that. But I feel like we need more X-Men. Like, we don't have enough X-Men in our daily lives. Like, we have too much Marvel, not enough.
We don't have any X-Men movies.
We don't. We barely have, like, we have, like, some, like, you know, like, Logan, like, some of that stuff. But it's not, like, truly X-Men. And there's been some teases on the recent shows that we watched. Like the Marvel ones, that they tease X-Men a little bit, but we haven't seen like full-on X-Men yet. So bring it back.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That's
Online
a game.
Play. Bring it.
That's a game that I kept in my office at Nintendo.
Yeah.
For reasons I don't know. I just liked having it there.
It.
No, that game is incredible.
That game is so good.
Of all those, they made a couple X-Men Legend games and then all the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games. That's the best one. The first X-Men Legends.
The first X-Men Legends was the best one.
Yeah.
Storm. Oh man, it's so good.
Yeah, that you can do 4-player.
You can do 4-player.
I mean, it's basically Diablo with X-Men.
Exactly. That's why I think that's why I liked it so much.
Yeah.
But the things you could do, you obviously upgrade the graphics, give you some better controls, make it online multiplayer. There's like some easy things you can do to, and it probably feels pretty modern already.
Yeah, I don't know if I would put that in the Metroid Prime or Resident Evil 4 echelon, but okay.
What?
It's fine. I mean, I love that game, but...
What?
All right, here we go. First from me. The original Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, I thought about that.
PlayStation 1. I feel like PlayStation N64 is really the sweet spot for this kind of game because it's like conceptually you are building a game that could work today but with the barest of tools.
Right.
Like Metal Gear Solid has an incredible story, plays super well, but like the look of it is archaic.
It's pretty,
It's very quaint by today's standards, but it is like his hand is just like a block of cheese.
It's like a stump.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like the ideas were all there. They were just held back by technology. You know? That's the thing.
Like if they could make like a current day visuals and just like make the controls feel appropriate for today, like this would be so good. Like I'm one of these people who thinks the odd number Metal Gear ones are incredible and the even ones stink. I'm sorry, 2 and 4 are awful.
But 1 and 3 are
I worked on Metal Gear Solid 4. I can say that about that one. Stinks. But 1, 3, and 5 are chef's kiss. This would, like, this is absolutely Game of the Year material if they remade Metal Gear Solid 1. And I know
Kojima would never do it.
But people can say, oh, they already did this. They made Twin Snakes. That was a GameCube game made by the great genius Dennis Dyack. That was a GameCube game, so that itself is now retro.
Right.
Also, I didn't love that version. They took a few too many liberties with that one. They took some risks.
You want them to like keep the core pretty much intact and just modernize the graphics and the controls.
Right. I don't think there's a lot.
Don't do anything else.
There's not a lot you need to fiddle with that game.
Yeah.
It's extremely, extremely good still.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's my first pick.
All right. My second pick is the original Luigi's Mansion.
Oh, interesting.
Because, again, I think that's one of those games where it feels a little bit ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And it feels like we don't get very many Luigi's Mansions games at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's one every, 5 years or something like that. So why not, bring this one back, And there's, again, minimal work that you have to do to it.
Yeah.
And I think it would still feel great. And I think about what Luigi's Mansion on Switch is like, because we've had one of those, and it was just so incredible. Why not take this game that you already have and modernize it to what it is now?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, interesting pick. I saw today is the 10-year anniversary of Dark Moon.
Yeah, the one on 3DS.
Right, the 3DS
that we
game.
Played so much of.
We did.
Yeah. That's the thing. We don't get very many of these games,
right?
For some reason.
Well, now you're just listing off GameCube games. Now I think this is your strategy.
It is
because these two are GameCube. Hey, the GameCube was awesome.
I love GameCube, and I want them to modernize all of it. I was tempted to say Paper Mario and all those games. I was no, I can't do that. That's not good.
My next game, Twilight Princess. They did a great remake of that you can't play unless you have a Wii U. My next game, are you going to find this sacrilegious? Some people are going to find this sacrilegious. This is My second favorite game ever. Oh, no. Super Mario 64. It's time.
Oh, you think Super Mario 64?
Yes.
You didn't really love the one that was in the anniversary pack that they like canceled after a while?
Oh, the Super Mario 3D All-Stars?
Yeah.
So yeah, I replayed the full game then. That's the most recent time that I'd played through it.
I beat it for the first time then.
Right, you played and beat it for the first time.
Yeah.
It was interesting to get your thoughts as a first-time player.
Yeah.
I did have some feelings in this most recent playthrough of like, some parts of this game do feel a little dated.
The camera is my biggest problem with that game.
And a lot of it's due.
And I didn't even know
a lot of it's due to the controller. Like on the N64, the camera felt good, but we've come so far with cameras. Like it would be time to just give that a proper full swivel around with old Locky 2 there.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times where it's like, oh, the camera, you can't do this. The camera won't let you.
You're like locked on one side.
Come on.
I feel like the N64 controller, and again, I never had an N64, so I don't maybe have like the core memory of using that controller, but it's just weird. And like you see all these other games like Mario 64 and then like GoldenEye recently.
It's so specialized.
What's the deal with this controller?
It was so specialized that it was perfect for those games, but if you're trying to play it now, it's very hard.
Yeah.
So remake it for a modern controller that's not the N64 controller. Obviously, give the graphics an overhaul. Every now and then you'll see people post like, I made Bob on Battlefield and Unreal Engine 5 or something.
Oh boy. Do you want the polygon graphics still? Like you don't want to take away the look of Mario 64?
You mean the real like blocky part?
Yeah.
No. You can make it look modern.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, like give it like the Mario Odyssey level of fidelity. Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
Why?
I don't know. I feel like that's so distinctive for that game.
I mean, they could just put out an HD version of Mario's. Wait, we're just talking about Metal Gear Solid. You got a cheese for a hand. What's the difference?
I don't know, because I feel like that game is more like supposed to be realistic.
I'm not talking about like Chris Pratt Mario. I'm talking about like game Mario.
I know, but still, that would be so weird.
Well, it's not your second favorite game of all time, so that's enough with the complaints.
I'm not complaining. I'm just so shocked that you would say that, because it is your second favorite game of all time.
That game would still exist. I could still play that version, but if we're making a proper modern version of Mario 64, then yeah, we gotta do some stuff. Yeah, and then the last thing I would do, I'll say like 99% of the controls in that game are still perfect. There's a couple things that I think they might want to just, again, make it feel as good as it can for 2023.
Okay.
But again, like the bones of that game are still so incredible.
Like the exploration and the...
Right. Like finding all the stars and all the levels, the layout of the levels are still great.
So you want that, but you want
the movement of Mario is, I think, still like...
movements.
That is what that game is about. It's like all the different ways that you can traverse these levels as Mario, all the different jumps that you can do, the little tricks.
Would you want them to like add new levels?
No.
Don't mess with the levels.
No, this is the criteria that we talked about. Minimal changes. Okay. Yeah. To the actual way the game plays is minimal. Oh. Yeah, but we're modernizing it.
I can't believe you said that.
Why?
I don't know, because I feel like you
What's the point if you're not going to...
Such a special place in your heart for...
You just re-release Mario 3D All-Stars again.
Mario 64.
Yeah, but I would really like to play that too.
Wow, yeah. I'm surprised. Okay.
See, like I said, sacrilegious.
A little sacrilegious. Yeah, I'm a little surprised.
All right.
My last one is a little controversial and actually doesn't meet some of the criteria that I myself have said that we should meet.
It's a shaky list by you, but okay.
I put this game on the list because I actually have never played this game before, but this game is such a darling for so many people, and like I just hear so many people talk about it, and I really love this developer, and I'm just so curious about like this game that seems to be sort of like a bit of a departure from this person's normal type of game. And it's Beautiful Joe. Oh! From our friend, our dear friend, Kamiya-san of Platinum Games. And I remember, obviously we worked with Kamiya-san very closely on like Wonderful 101. Yeah. And, he's of course most known for like the Bayonetta stuff. But, like I feel like whenever I talk to anybody who is like a fan of Platinum Games, they talk about this game, Beautiful Joe. A game that, have you played this game before?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you like it?
I don't love it as much as a lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would just love a modern version.
Yeah.
That's like beautifully remade. And you know how good those Bayonetta games look. Like, could they make it look like that? You know, and I just want to play it, but I don't want to play this old version. Like, I don't think I would like the old version. I don't know. I think it'd be like too like without having experienced that version when it came out. I wouldn't have that like nostalgia for it. So I would really just like to play a modern version of this game because everyone talks about it all the time, and I have never played it before. Yeah,
this is one of those games that I feel like is in rights purgatory because it's like, well, Capcom published it. And it was before Platinum existed. They had that studio called Clover where they were making those games. So I don't know
how they can ever publish it again.
It's like, could they even just re-release it as it is somehow?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably not.
It sounds like a mess.
Sounds like you have to renegotiate the whole contract for trying to publish. It's
nice to want things, though. So, yeah, Beautiful Joe. Well, you just, again, going alphabetically on your list of GameCube games.
No.
You went from, I started with X, so.
X-Men.
you jumbled it up to try and keep me on my toes. But yeah.
I just, it's one of those things where it's like, I missed out on this game, but now it's too far gone. It's too many years have gone. So for me to actually enjoy and play it and understand it the way that why people love it, like the only way for me to do that is if they remake this game. So I would love to have that opportunity to play it. But maybe I won't ever. I don't know.
I'm trying to remember if I still have Beautiful Joe or if I got rid of it. I feel like I still have it. That's the lesson. Never get rid of anything. Just keep anything.
That game is worth a lot of money.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
A lot of money.
Games related. Just hold on to everything. Never give anything away.
Boy.
All right. So I have 4 more actually. And I'll pick one to talk about in depth, and then we'll blow through the other 3 because I still want to mention those. And this is a game that, again, I think is not on everybody's radar, but is a game that I still cape for. A game that, again, if they ever put this on the PlayStation Plus, I will immediately subscribe to play it.
Oh, okay. This is one of those like old games I can't play anymore.
That is Bushido Blade.
Oh, Bushido Blade. That's a good one.
For people who don't know what Bushido Blade is, because there has not been a Bushido Blade game since the original PlayStation, one-on-one fighting game in a 3D environment, so you can properly move around, like a really big 3D environment. Like you can run from like
one end
woods to the castle to the beach, but it's one-on-one fighting with weapons, and one hit kills. So if I connect with my sword in just the right way, you're dead.
But you can run around like crazily.
You can block, you can parry, you can get hit in the arm and then have to fight one-handed. You get hit in the legs and you have to crawl around.
Yeah.
Like, the tension in this game from, like, this match could be over in a split second is so high.
Yeah.
And it plays so well. There's all these different weapons that you can choose from. They all have these different strategic considerations. A modern version of this would be so cool. And I think could be, like this could be an esport somehow.
I was going to say, like, this could be, like, if you released
this could be an
now,
Evo.
It would be like that type of game.
Right, and it could stand out because it's so different from like a Street Fighter or a Mortal Kombat, but it's still like the core, it's a fighting game.
And it's still strategic enough for you to like practice to get good.
Right, like I really wonder like how this game would be received with everything, the communities we have now around fighting games.
Right.
I would be really interested to see that. But again, Sony, please release this game. And Square Enix, please release this game any possible way. This is a game, I do have this game, I'm just too lazy to dig it up and set up my, like, I guess I have to play it on my PS3.
Oh, that's annoying.
That's a pain.
Yeah.
My last 3, real fast, to go through.
Okay.
The entire Uncharted trilogy.
Oh, I thought about that.
On the PS3.
I was like, no, it's too soon for those games.
It is a little too soon, but maybe in the next generation. I mean, they remade The Last of Us like 2 times already.
Who cares?
But the Uncharted games are the blueprint for the modern Sony first-party games.
That's true.
Where it's like walk and talk, these great big stories, this great voice acting, these big overarching stories.
Right, these very cinematic experiences.
This is the game.
I thought about that, and I thought about the Assassin's Creed series, but I was like, no, it's too soon, too soon.
Right. But the 4th one, they don't need to do yet. But the first 3 that were on PS3...
Those are pretty good.
You just keep the same voice acting. You don't need to do any of that. That's iconic. Keep all of that.
You don't really need to do anything.
Just modernize.
Just the graphics.
Yes,
that's
just
it.
modernize.
Even the controls are fun.
Whatever they did to The Last of Us, which I didn't play, so I don't know, but just do that. I don't know what you did, but just do that again.
And then make it into a hit HBO series for Prestige TV.
They did have Tom Holland and Marky Mark, but I guess it didn't work out.
Well, Marky Mark got so old that he had to play the other character because they delayed that movie so many times. So awkward.
Next. Ninja Gaiden from 2004 on the original Xbox.
Ninja Gaiden.
This was one of the first games where it's like, hey, this game's hard, and that was the whole like calling card for it.
Right.
It was being hard. But back then, that was still like kind of a weird thing for a lot of people.
Right,
but now with all the Souls games and Elden Ring, like I feel like this could have a totally new audience. This was like Team Ninja, like after they were like, yeah, we can do more than jiggle physics. We're gonna make this like awesome Ninja Gaiden game. And this game was great. After that, they made a couple more after that were not as good. But this is the one, if Koei Tecmo wants to re-release this and like...
I'm not a huge Ninja Gaiden fan.
That's fine. And again, there's only one really good game, so it's fine.
Even that one really
They did do a re-release of it, Ninja Gaiden Black, but again, that at this point is also retro. Finally, my final one is a game that you hear rumored that this might actually be happening. So that's why I have it at the bottom of my list. Final Fantasy Tactics.
Oh, I hear that all the time.
All the time.
All the time. Everyone's always talking about Final Fantasy Tactics. It's not going to happen.
No, but that's rumored that this is like happening, this sort of remake. This was like, this introduced like so many people to like a strategy RPG.
This is basically like, everyone's like, this is better than Fire Emblem.
Right. And it's like some people have other ones like, oh, Tactics Ogre was better. It's like, yeah, but this is Final Fantasy, so it's going to reach a much bigger audience.
Universe.
This was my first introduction to strategy RPGs. I was like, wow, there's a lot of neat stuff in here.
Yeah.
And I think it still is very, would still feel very fresh if they put it out today, and would be entirely new to a new generation of people.
That's true. I mean, I think that game is incredibly popular, so it would do super, super well if they did release it. With our luck, they'll release it on mobile. And
oh man.
Just add it to the list of things that they release on mobile for some reason and not anywhere else. That's literally what's going to happen with Square. You know it is.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 great submissions from our Patreon subscribers. This first one, I can't believe neither of us said. Flapjacks 626 says, I've been killing for a remastered Smash Bros. Melee for ages now. The OG roster and original movement mechanics and the Smash Ultimate graphics in HD would be just the best. It would also do wonders for the competitive community around the game. It's annoying to have to pull out an old CRT TV to resort to emulation to play it. Let's talk about this. Melee. Melee HD, basically.
Yeah.
On one hand, makes a lot of sense.
Right.
On the other hand, it's never going to happen.
It's absolutely 100% never going to happen. But yeah, I mean, Melee is one of those things when we were at Nintendo, it was sort of this like thing that whenever someone brings it up, it was like a point of... It's
a Mother 3 level game where you kind of tense up.
Yeah. And there's so many like negative things from a Nintendo perspective around Melee that it's just like, now it has like the black market emulation around it and this all this other stuff that Nintendo does not like.
I think one of the reasons not to do this game is how annoying the community would be around it. If you change even one minuscule detail about this game, it'll be like, oh, this game's not viable. Because
back to the emulation.
Back to the CRTs, back to lugging my CRT around. Like there is absolutely, it has to be pixel perfect, like count the frames by hand.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah, there's no way you can satisfy the zealousness of that community.
Yeah.
And I think Nintendo totally knows.
Yeah, it'd be like, oh, this is the end of Melee is here because Nintendo put out Melee HD and it's not like 2,000% accurate to the original.
Right.
So it's like from their standpoint, it's like we have no incentive to actually do this.
Right. It's only going to cause like more, more headaches. Yeah, I know. This is, even reading this comment, my heart like twinged because I still have residual trauma from the perception of Melee inside Nintendo, and dealing with that was truly a nightmare.
So if you can't satisfy
that fan base,
the Melee fan base, then there's no point in doing the project.
So just they got to do the sweep it under the rug tactic. Because you don't talk about Melee, you let them do their thing, and you just move on.
Because for everybody else, Smash Ultimate is great.
Right.
And they don't have this affinity, and they don't want to lug around a CRT.
Yeah,
So they don't need it. And then there's also like, So Sakurai's in like a weird place where he's like taking a break.
Right. He's posting cat videos on YouTube.
But so let's say Nintendo did want to make Melee HD. He would want to be so up in that.
And it would drive him. I don't think he's gonna make it. Like honestly.
It's not an original game, but he would want to approach it with the same aggression he would.
And he has that like such a perfection mind, and that his level of aggression, perfection, passion, coupled with the Melee communities, like exact same.
It's a recipe for disaster.
That is like the most toxic relationship you could get into.
Right.
And I think that he would honestly, like, for his health, he would not make it, and that would be devastating.
But if Nintendo was like, we'll just let this other studio do it, he'd be like, no.
He would absolutely say no.
I will not allow you to do that. I will personally oversee this. We will get the Ultimate Team back.
Yeah.
Let's bring them back together.
Bring them back.
And we will do this.
But then he would have his arm twisted every step of the way, and it would be detrimental.
It's a worst case scenario.
Yeah, please don't. Yeah. Please don't. For his health and well-being, please do not.
I also don't know, like, there's probably some sort of a contractual nightmare around this, even though a lot of those characters continue on.
Right.
It's just like...
That whole thing, like, it's kind of like what contract was signed back in the day. Like, it's hard to needle through that. Do you need to
go back? Like, there's some new rights holder for something, or some song or something?
It's gotta be music. It's always the freaking music. It's always the music.
So for a million different reasons,
oh my gosh, I can't talk about this anymore.
Can and should never happen.
It's literally giving me like heart palpitations just thinking about it. Okay.
Israel Izzy. I'd love to see a re-release of Kid Icarus Uprising on Switch, another Sakurai game. I think it could still be a very solid experience if they adapted the controls from touchscreen aiming to a more traditional thumbstick aim control scheme. I agree here.
I think now the complete opposite would happen if we released, if Nintendo released Kid Icarus Uprising. Like, I think this would be such a passion project for Sakurai, and he would actually love this, because I think and we talked about this in a previous podcast, like, it was very clear when we were working on this game, like, he definitely approached it with the same level of, like, Sakurai perfection and passion, but it felt different than a Smash game. Like, it really felt like he welcomed, like, this reprieve from working on, like, all the different challenges of a Smash game, and, like, he felt like more creatively free working on this game. So I think he would actually really enjoy remaking Kid Icarus.
This game deserves a second life. This game, I mean, we loved this game. You'd be hard-pressed to find somebody who didn't feel like they were fighting the controls in this game.
Exactly.
And
the hand cramp with the
just
crazy...
the claw.
The claw hand, the stylus.
Came with a stand, is all you need to know. Is this game came with a stand. I can see like the counter argument of like, the game is about really those really fast spins and aiming and stuff, and you would need to think of some way to do that, but it's like, we got to find a compromise.
Yeah.
Because this game could really like...
You could do like button combos.
I'm sure there are a lot of people that were just like, no, I'm not playing this game that way on a handheld. I'm just not.
Yeah.
And if you put it out on the Switch or whatever future system, that could be a huge, huge, huge hit.
Yeah, it would be such a huge... It's perfect, too.
Hopefully people are thinking about that.
Oh my gosh. Like that if he came out of YouTube retirement to remake Kid Icarus for the next Switch, that would be the all-time like bow down moment to Sakurai. Like, that is so awesome. Yeah. If that was what he came out of retirement to do and not another Smash game, I would like be maximum respect for Sakurai if he did that. Yeah. Amazing.
Elite Peach is next. I would love an HD 2D remake of Chrono Trigger. I can only imagine how great it would look in that art style, and hopefully it could have a fully orchestrated soundtrack as well. Gameplay-wise, they might be able to adjust some of the tech attacks so players wouldn't just pick the same ones over and over and over. So SNES, like polygonal 3D games, I feel are hard for this criteria because there's just a certain amount of people that don't
like that art style and don't feel like that art style's modern.
Well, let me give you an example. So when we were working on the Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze, when we would show those games to media, like there were some people who would like play the game and be like, I love this is incredible. And then they would look to me like, so this isn't a full price game, is it?
Right.
It's like just because it's 2D, like the implication is that it's like a smaller project, it's less impactful, It's not going to hold up against like the big, modern releases. So for a lot of Super Nintendo games or older, it's hard for them to
like justify
have the same impact of Metroid Prime, Resident Evil, because some people just look at them as like retro or old,
especially
or
that style, that pixel style, where I mean, even if it is HD 2D, like that's very popular now for these JRPGs. And I think when you make one, and it's interesting to bring that up because when you look at a modern, like a HD 2D game that's released like in the last year or so, it almost feels like people market it or like talk about it as like a retro game too. It's like, oh, like scratch your, JRPG nostalgia itch with like Live Alive or something like that, So it's like when you try to go the other way and remake it to make it feel modern and big, it's really hard to do that.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's possible in people's minds,
I do think this is the game that could buck that trend though, because it's so beloved.
Oh, such a great game.
There is no current way of playing this game.
Right.
Unless Square has one of their great versions on a phone. And that's tragic. Like, and again, this is another one where there's like nightmare situations for all the stuff, but they need to find a way to keep this in the public. People need to be able to play this game.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's constantly like cited as like one of the most important games in history. Like it's one of those like historically significant things. But I feel like as time goes by, people don't think about it as much.
Right, because they can't play it.
Right.
Motomania. I'm surprised this wasn't on your list. Eternal Darkness from the GameCube. The story, art direction, genuinely creepy atmosphere, and the unique gameplay hold up well. It was nice to revisit the shorter, tight-paced game in an age of padding and bloat, plus it can find a much larger audience today than the small GameCube base when it launched. Have you played this game?
I've not, because I'm scared of it.
I played this game because when it came out, like, this game got crazy reviews.
I remember that, but
like,
I was too scared.
It was getting 10s, so I was like, this isn't normally the game, like, this, I don't know, this game, for some reason, wasn't looking super great to me, but I got it. I wouldn't say it's a 10. I would have given it maybe
was it because you don't like scary games?
No, actually, I just thought the gameplay was very straightforward.
Okay.
And a lot of it was around these like insanity effects where it would pretend like, oh, your controller got disconnected or you got a bug or something and the screen froze. I don't know. It's not at the top of my list.
Does it feel gimmicky? Is that why?
It felt a little gimmicky in ways. But I can understand why it has a passionate fan base.
Okay.
So, and finally, I hope I pronounced this right. Vesves?
Vesves?
Yeah? There's a lot of answers I could give that have already been mentioned, but I have to listen to my greedy little heart and say a remake of Final Fantasy X.
Okay.
The CG in that game is still outstanding to this day, and I know they did a remaster in 2016, but if you gave the whole game the Final Fantasy VII remake treatment, I would just melt into a puddle on the floor.
It's really interesting because there is something special about the Final Fantasy VII remake treatment, because it does like take more liberty than I think.
Well, that's above and beyond what we were talking about.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like that's like that to me feels like
that's almost like a whole
new game.
Yeah.
We're changing the story.
Right.
We're changing like all sorts of things. So yeah, I think that's like maybe like a few ticks above what we're saying, what Metroid Prime does and what Resident Evil 4 does.
Even just like if you think about like that level of presentation though.
Yeah.
It does. I do think 10 is after 7 the next one chronologically that most people have the most passion for.
That's true.
So I do wonder, like, as we go later and later and, the new generation that came up with 10, like that's their thing that they rally around. Like, Square probably has a good reason to do this.
They probably will, honestly.
Yeah.
I think out of all the games that we talked about, this is probably the most likely.
And after these remakes, like, what else can you do with 7? They've done it all.
I know.
They've really done it all.
Put it on a phone. Just kidding.
Our final act, put it on the phone. I think it's already there. So yeah, I could see this. Again, maybe we're a generation away from the peak desire for this.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we need to wait a little longer.
I think this is a good candidate. to revisit.
I think when they remake this one is when they will remake Uncharted.
Yeah.
Because you need like 8 more years. 8 to 10 more
PlayStation
years.
6 is going to be hot.
Hot stuff.
Hot stuff.
PlayStation 6 Mini.
Yeah.
On your phone, it's gonna be so cool. You can play all these games. It's gonna be great. Just implanted into your brain as a chip.
So this was I like this thought exercise.
Me
This
too.
Was very fun.
This was really fun. I would love to hear like what other people think should be given this treatment. Like tell us in the comments. There's just so much opportunity now, I think, that this is a kind of proven formula.
This is a drum that I've been beating for a while. It's like if you have a game that is great, that everybody loves, that holds up, just remake it every generation, or just make sure it is available.
Because it's always going to be a new audience that you're going to be able to capture with it. And so, your original audience would be more than happy to play it again.
Right. Yeah. So there is some like groaning about like, oh, they've released The Last of Us twice already.
Mm-hmm. That one, the timing between those were pretty short.
Well, they had a TV show to line
market.
Up with, but
sure.
It's like if The Last of Us was my favorite game, like I would love that.
You'd be sitting pretty.
It's like I'm already playing this game yearly, so now I can play it and get this fresh new experience out of it.
Right.
Perfect.
And you get to see the cool TV show.
Right.
So if you have like we talked about last week, this sort of entertainment angle.
Synergy.
Oh, synergy.
Yeah.
I hate that word. Or like, a lot of gaming companies are taking more of that entertainment approach, right?
Yeah.
Nintendo included. So like if there is something you're doing around like a movie or a game or whatever, like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if they remade Super Mario 64 as a way to promote the Mario movie?
Sure.
How fun would that be? Especially because, there's so many Super Mario 64 references in like a place like Super Nintendo World. And I'm sure in the movie it's going to be loaded with those kinds of references too. So that would be some synergy.
Yeah. That would be some synergy.
That would be some synergy, people.
Well, isn't that just some synergy? We are moving on now to the games that we're playing. It's kind of a big list this week.
Again, a lot of games that you've been still in your dabble.
Well, next week we're going to have Resident Evil 4 big impressions. We're day one on that. So the dabbling was going to stop.
The dabbling is stopping. Starting very soon.
Right.
But
I'm doing good in wrapping up the stuff I was dabbling with.
You had a goal in mind for some of your stuff, and you met your goals, which is great.
Well, let's start with you. We can start with your little weekly Hogwarts Legacy Minute here.
I don't know if people are tired of this yet, but I'm working my way through the story mode of that game. Big story things have happened to me. It's really interesting, the story, sort of how they are connecting the story with like you as your daily life as a student at the school. I was wondering how they would do that, because that's kind of a lot of that universe is like you are a student of a wizard school and you gotta go to class. You gotta take like lessons and like how to use your magic and how to hone your magic. So I was really curious about how they were going to connect that with like your student life, because there's not a lot of games that do that and do that well. And I found it to be like really well integrated. Like they do some gating where like you cannot advance the main quest until you've taken certain classes and gotten certain spells. And then you kind of know, it's almost like a Zelda formula where it's like, okay, I just got this new skill and I'm about to go in a dungeon.
I see.
Obviously, I'm going to probably have to use this spell in this dungeon. So you kind of in your head, you're like, I understand why I went to those classes and learned this thing, because now I got to do this big story main quest, advance the story dungeon to use these new spells. So that's been really cool. Like it does feel like a very integrated world. I am really shocked at just like how many side quests and just bits of the world to explore outside of being in the castle, being in school. Like you obviously go to the village, but there's all these other little hamlets that you can travel to explore. All these really cool side quests that you kind of stumble into. Kind of has an Elden Ring quality to it. You're like running around and all of a sudden there's a huge troll under a bridge that you might have to, that you encounter. So really cool like exploration discovery, which has been really cool. And then like, of course, they always like sprinkle in a little like fan service. Like this one was like, oh, you finally get to ride that like hippogriff, which is like almost like a huge griffin.
Just a griffin, right?
It's a huge, like a huge eagle griffin, I guess. And you do a big quest, like rescuing this thing from poachers, and then you have this like really cool cutscene of like riding this into like the sunrise.
Yeah.
And now it's like a mount that you can ride whenever.
Nice.
So yeah, really cool. I'm probably gonna try to wrap it up as soon as I can so I can start Resident Evil 4. But
Are you actually close?
I think I'm like
How long to beat?
50% through.
Oh, you're not going to beat it in time.
Well, I might be a little late to Resident Evil.
All right, that's fine.
But I'm gonna. Yeah, I think I can get through it.
Okay. You also played a new game that we got some codes for, thank you, called Storyteller.
Yeah.
What is this? I haven't been playing it.
This game is so cool. So I did see it, I think in one of the indie showcases, and I was really piqued my interest.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a puzzle game. It's from Annapurna, which I love them, and all their games are great. But basically the idea is you have these like prompts, and you have a couple different scenes and a couple different characters and sort of a blank page, almost like a comic book page, but with like these blank squares. And the idea is that you would have to like set up a scene with characters to result in that prompt. So some of the prompts are like really straightforward, like Eve dies of heartbreak. So you have to like set it up so, she falls in love with somebody, and then something happens to that person that she fell in love with, and then she dies of a broken heart. So it's like kind of straightforward. But then they get kind of zany. It's like everybody rejects Edgar. So like you have to set it up so like, he tries to like hit on all these people and they all reject him, or somehow like, work it out so that the story like results in that prompt. And there's all these different ones, and some of them are very sort of like more like classic fairy tales. I'm doing this whole stretch where it's clearly a play off of Snow White. So you have like, a dwarf. You have a character that looks like Snow White. You have a character that has a magic mirror. So you have these sort of classic fairy tale characters and settings, but the stories, you're kind of creating those stories.
Is there more than one solution for each of these?
I think so. I think there's ways that you can do it.
That's
like,
good.
Where as long as you satisfy that prompt,
right.
You can fiddle with it however way you want.
Okay.
And sometimes they give you even like a secondary thing. It's like so and so dies of heartbreak, but nobody can die. Like one of that's an easy way to die of heartbreak is like you kill off their lover, and then of course they are sad, right?
Right.
But so you have to like figure out like even like an alternative way to do it with a limitation.
Right.
So very clever. I love any sort of like fairy tale storybook kind of game, and this is definitely that. The little like art style is super cute.
It's a cool idea.
It feels very much like you're flipping through a fairy tale book. And the music is fun too. They do a lot of like classical music. So there's like Swan Lake and Romeo and Juliet and some of those classic like Tchaikovsky symphonies and stuff like that as like the backing for the game. So really, really fun so far. I'm stuck on one puzzle right now, so we'll see how far I can get.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm a little stuck.
Yeah, as long as there's more than one solution, I feel like that would be a key for me.
Yeah.
If you think like, gosh, to me this is making sense of how you would get to that solution, but if the game doesn't think so, then that could be a bummer.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's good. You should definitely try it.
Yeah, and I'm sure with this, GDC week here, we'll probably hear about a lot more cool indie games.
Yeah.
So one of the games I've been dabbling with, which is also an indie, is, and I briefly mentioned this last week, Anno Mutationum.
Very interesting name.
Strangest name I could imagine. So there is another series called Anno, which is like, it's like Anno 1700. It's like, exploration in the new world. You're on like a boat.
It's like year, blah, blah,
You're
blah.
like settling some new world or something. So when I first heard the name, I was like, is that what this is? One of these two words go together. This is actually a game that I saw on one of Beat 'em Up's eShop recommendation videos. So thanks to him for that. It's a hard one to describe. One of the best descriptions that I saw from somebody else, I didn't come up with this, is cyberpunk meets 2D near automata combat. So
wow.
It's set in a cyberpunk world. You play this girl, there's some fishy stuff going on, like her brother's vanished. There's this like strange disease where people like turn to metal because they've got these like robo implants. And you're trying to figure that out. So there's two kind of distinct phases of this game. There's the exploration, which you can move fully in whatever direction. And the areas that you explore are pretty detailed.
Okay.
And there's a lot of them.
Like 3D?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The game has this really interesting look that's very like, it's kind of lo-fi looking.
Yeah.
But
I saw some trailers for it.
Still has a lot of detail to it, a lot of good animation. But these environments are like really full of like people and things to see. So they feel like there's like a lot happening here.
Right.
And you can go from there and do stuff, and you're sort of like solving mysteries. But then you get into combat, which is 2D exclusively. So
okay.
you lose the plane of being able to move, front to back. And it's mostly melee based, but you do get like a gun as well with limited ammo. So I have like a light sword, a heavy sword, and a gun are the 3 weapons.
But it's not turn-based, is
No,
it?
it's full-on action.
Right.
Okay. And it's got a lot of like the typical action moves you would expect. Like there's like a launcher and you can knock people up and then hit them in the air.
Okay.
That kind of thing. But it feels good and there's a lot of variety to it. There's like a pretty deep skill tree where you can customize like how you want to do it. I've gotten to a point where there's crafting. So this is one of those games where it's like, yeah, it's got all the components you would want out of a game like this, but it all clicks together really well.
Yeah.
So I like it a lot. I definitely recommend it. This is one of those games. It's crazy how on the eShop, I'm playing this on Switch. I think it's on everything else. Like, there's just these really good games that you would never hear
about. I've never ever heard of this game.
Unless somebody gave you a recommendation or you watched a video like
When
specifically.
When did it come out?
I think it's like a year or two old.
Oh, wow.
So it's not new. It's just been on my radar since I saw that video of like, gosh, when I have a free moment, I want to play that.
There is a lot to kind of dig through on that eShop, though, and so a lot of gems that you just don't.
It's concerning, though, that like these are like legit good games that you have no clue exist.
I know.
And I don't know how they solve that problem.
Yeah.
But this game, I think, is about 10-ish hours, so I feel like I might be able to beat it.
Oh.
This week.
Wow.
Because I'm already a decent number of hours into it.
Well, that's good.
Before Resident Evil comes out, so that's cool. The other game I've been dabbling with.
Oh boy, this one.
You thought I was joking.
I thought you were joking.
Didn't
I thought
you?
it was like some sort of, like, I don't know. What
I
I was
had
thinking.
the physical copy.
Yeah, and I was like, why did you get a physical copy of this game?
It was much cheaper. Monster Jam Steel Titans 2.
Uh-huh.
So, I didn't know this going into it. Monster Jam is now like the modern day monster truck
Rally,
association.
Yeah. Yes.
So again, when we were coming up, Bigfoot was the like iconic monster truck and run over cars and stuff. Did you ever? I never went to one of those events.
I really want to go. I've never gone,
Well,
and I would love to go.
We might be going now because I've been getting pretty deep into this game.
Into Monster Truck?
So
Okay.
I had a singular focus with this game. It was like, I want to drive the Megalodon Shark Monster Truck.
Okay.
Again, I told the story of how I saw this thing and I just became immediately obsessed. Like, just the look of this shark car is like...
It is pretty cool.
I was like, I just want to like look at this thing because it's so cool.
I want to look at it in person because it exists in real
It is
life.
real.
Can you sit in the shark? Can you drive it for reals? Is there?
I don't know if they want you to do that because
Can
probably
they let you sit in it at least for a photo?
they
or
might
something?
do that. Yeah. So maybe
That would be
you and I
cool.
have a monster truck rally in our future. Again,
I would love that.
Hashtag Monster Jam ambassadors. We're open to this.
Can you sponsor us? Yeah, thanks.
Something that's been surprising to me though is like there's a lot of other cars in this game that are all kind of equally cool depending on what you're
like into.
You're into?
Yeah.
Like there's a whole category of one that are
There's
based
like
on animals.
dinosaurs, right?
There's a Triceratops.
That's cool. See,
I was using a lobster car that was called Crush Station, which is a good pun.
Not to be confused with Sean Crustacean.
No, they have a whole category of cars based on different types of dogs. I'm like, this is strange. There's one called the Zombie that's got like little human-like looking arms coming out of it that just kind of like dangle out.
Do all the cars exist in real life?
These are all real.
That's so cool.
I know. They're all like really detailed looking. So,
I'm into the idea of going to this in real life.
no wonder Bigfoot is not a thing anymore because they came up with way cooler.
That seems so tame now compared to the ones that they have now.
Right.
Oh man, we missed out.
But this game is like pretty fun to play. Like, I didn't know going into this, I was like, this game could be awful, just like licensed drivel.
Right.
But
it could
no.
be shovelware, but it wasn't.
Right, no. And this has been like such a good reminder for me to like go outside of just the games that get 9s out of 10 or like the hot new thing that people are playing. Of like, if something...
You have some particular interest...
Right.
It's like watching a B movie. Like, it's fun. It's mindless fun,
I mean, it's not the greatest game ever, but it's also not trash, and I'm having fun playing it. So there's again, to this, there's two distinct like things that you do in this game. So in one, you're in these pretty big open worlds, and you explore those. There's like secrets for you to find, and it's mostly just like a free drive kind of thing where it's made for you to like do crazy jumps and stuff. There's like ramps or mountains that you can jump off of.
It's an Excite bike.
And I mean, the physics are realistic, but you can also just like fall right off like a 200-foot cliff
and be okay.
And as long as you land on the wheels, you'll be perfectly fine. But then to actually like advance and unlock more of these open areas, you have to do like the actual like rally events where you're like in a stadium. And some of those, there's probably like a half dozen-ish of those that you do. Like some of them are just like straight up races. Others are like destruction derbies. Those are cool because you are
porta potties.
You are blowing through porta potties, and I haven't told you this yet. Also, old school outhouses, like the wooden things with the little
moon
cutout.
Why is it a moon cutout?
We're not getting into that. I don't know. I also don't know.
Is it because you use it at night?
When you blow through those, balloons shoot out everywhere.
It's better than something else shooting out everywhere.
But it's like, it's fun because it's like they've just laid out all this stuff, and you're just and it's like you get a multiplier.
It's not a good noise to make when you're running over porta potties.
You get a multiplier based on like how many you're actively hitting. So it's like you get a high score, and it's like you're trying to get the highest score.
Oh
to
my
win that.
lord!
It's like that's fun. There's others where you try and do like tricks. So it's fun to play, and like it does have some interesting mechanics that you don't find in other like car-based games. So something I didn't know about monster trucks. Normally in a car, you turn, the front wheels turn. You actually control the front and the back independently. Oh. So turning the front
that's gonna be hard to do.
Is on the left stick, and turning the back is on the right stick.
Oh, weird.
Normally,
is that for real in a monster truck?
It must be.
You drive like that?
It must be.
Okay, I don't want to drive.
Because there is a first-person mode where you can see in the truck, and you can kind of see when you're doing that, like
weird.
The arm's doing like all sorts of crazy controls.
How do you get into that career field? Driving a monster truck?
But that does introduce like a good amount of depth for some of like the races, because it's like, oh, I need to nail this hairpin turn, and like, well, this is where I really need to double steer to kick into it. And it's also
with your back and front wheels.
It's also a different kind of vehicle because it's very top heavy, and you need to be careful not to roll over.
Do you roll a lot?
If you just go like full speed into some turn, like you're gonna roll over. So you need to go fast enough to do what you need to do, but a lot of the time, if you go full throttle, like you're going to mess yourself up. So it is a different type of racing that's been fun to learn about. And anything where you're just like drifting around in the mud or doing crazy stuff in like dirt.
It's satisfying.
That's cool.
Satisfying.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say I did unlock the shark card. So once I got that game, I was like, how do I actually get this thing? Because I didn't see it in the initial list. And I found, like, oh, it's actually a pretty deep unlock.
How long did it take you to unlock this?
And I was like, oh, boy. I don't want to devote my life to getting this shark card, but I also really want it.
And then what happened?
I did some research, and I found there's a number of ways to get it. So I chose the easiest way, and I just did it.
How long did it take you?
It wasn't crazy. It was maybe like 5 hours or so to get it. Yeah.
Now you have it. What are you gonna do next?
And now I've like played. I'm almost done with like I've almost unlocked all the areas. So I'll probably just quote finish Monster Jam.
I can't believe.
Can you finish it?
Are you gonna put on your list of games you finished this year?
Well, it didn't come out this year, so it doesn't qualify. There are rumors of a Monster Jam 3.
Maybe that will come out this year. Maybe your progress will
just make a Megalodon game. Forget all these others. Just make
the other cars don't sound cool.
Well, you need to pick your favorite if we're going to go to a monster truck rally. Okay, so maybe I'm going to give this to you next.
Give me the game after you're done with so I can play.
We're just a monster truck channel now. Forget these video games. Yeah.
We don't know how to drive in real life. I'm a terrible driver, so running over stuff is perfect for me.
The last thing we both played this a little bit is the Exoprimal Beta.
Yes.
we actually got invited to like an early access
So
thing for this.
cool.
Thank you, Capcom.
Yeah, thank you so
Unfortunately, I
much.
didn't have power the days it was running.
You had some problems.
So I had to join the public beta.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. So this is like a team-based multiplayer game that is mostly cooperative
Right.
until it isn't.
Until you start to mess each other up.
So the concept of this game is like a portal to another dimension has been unlocked and like dinosaurs just
dumping out
of the
portal.
sky.
Yeah.
So you're like the extermination squad. There's like, I think, were there 5 people?
I think so,
Five people on a team. And you just have to wipe out these dinosaurs as they come at you, like, in waves.
It's like horde management.
It feels like a horde mode type of game. But there's a lot of different classes that you can choose from.
Right,
like,
right.
It's got, like, a Capcom level of depth.
Yeah, kind of like a Monster Hunter style.
Yeah, you got, like, tanks, you got support, you got, like, snipers. Like, there's a lot of different classes.
I'm good at the support. I'm always a support character. I cannot do, like, the
I chose the very, like, all-around one. Because I was like,
I don't know what I'm doing.
I need to learn the basics.
I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'll just stand back here.
Well, it's a beta. Nobody knows what they're doing.
Oh, I'm scared. I didn't want to let my team down. I was like really nervous.
Gosh.
I'm like, please don't.
So
Don't be mad.
So it takes you through like the map. You've taken down these waves of enemies, and once you get to the end, then you do get matched up against the other team.
Right.
Because there's like 2 teams who are competing at the same time, and you get these messages of like, oh,
they're like nearing this place or whatever.
They're completing it faster than you are.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, oh, I wonder what. Like, do we just get a time at the end? Like,
are we competing against each other for like points or something?
Right. What exactly is it? But then you go into this big shared area. And it's you versus the other team with the dinosaurs still pouring out everywhere.
Yeah.
And then there becomes some sort of an objective. This felt very Overwatch-y.
I was going to say it kind of felt like more Battle Royale type kind of things. Yeah.
In the one I played, it was like, escort the caravan thing to the goal.
Yep.
Which is like straight out of Overwatch.
And they have like capture the flag.
Yeah. So then you play some sort of a like more competitive mode with the other team at the end. So it's kind of a creative way to do it.
Interesting how you do both.
Yeah. This game comes out pretty soon. I don't know how I'm going to slot this game in or if I will.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a unique idea. I could see it catching on.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of fresh ideas that you don't see in other games like this. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. I always complain that there's not enough dinosaur games.
Exactly.
So this at least is we got some remedy there, which is great.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Moving on to the news.
News.
Kind of a shorter news segment this week, which is fine. So Deadline, have you heard of Deadline? They're one of these kind of movie industry.
Yeah. They do like estimates for like, your number, the numbers.
They're covering the movie industry.
Yeah.
And they came out with an estimate for the Mario movie, and they said that they estimate it to make $85 to $90 million.
You estimated $1 billion.
Not in the opening weekend, I said lifetime, but they said in the opening weekend, it's
pretty,
$85 to $90 million.
That's pretty awesome.
So the opening weekend is actually quite long because I guess they just count whenever it comes out through that Sunday.
That's why they moved the date.
So we have a 5-day opening weekend.
Yeah, Wednesday through Sunday.
Right. There are some markets where the movie is not out this weekend.
Right.
Like Japan. For some reason, it comes out way later.
Why is that?
I don't understand
that. Weird.
Apparently, that's a trend in Japan where they get movies like. I saw some of our friends in Japan like complaining about this.
Oh,
why
does this happen to them?
Why does this keep happening? Like this might have made sense a long time ago, but now we just get spoiled on these movies. I felt bad for them.
Oh no! I wonder why. That's so weird. Okay.
They did have some weird caveats here. They did say that this is a very conservative estimate. And then they also had some of their some of their research tracking at the end of this that seemed very questionable to me. So it says, the pick is currently strong with boys and girls under 12. Equally. Is set to conquer families and is also strong with the gamer sect of guys under 25.
Why is it written like that?
This is some
what
jargon.
What is the gamer sect of
Pick,
guys?
the pick, P-I-C?
The pick,
the spot?
The spot is popular, strong with boys and girls?
So
this sounds like a Nintendo like campaign strategy.
Right. So, yes, kids under 12, okay, sounds good. Families, sure. But then gamer guys under 25. Well, what about the gamer guys over 25?
Like you?
That's a huge, like, that is, like, the meat.
I feel like that's actually the main target.
So if that's...
Not even gamer guys, just video game enthusiasts.
Right.
Over 25, because guess who grew up with Mario that's over, and who is over 25?
We're going to see this on the opening weekend.
These are the people.
So if you are basing this estimate on this, that is
then that
missing
estimate is
a huge,
way higher.
Missing a huge target of the market, you just screwed up.
Let us do this.
Move
over a deadline. Let me do this research.
And it's not like I'm saying like double this, but it'll definitely be in the triple digits. I did.
Do you have an estimate? Let's hear yours. Put it out there.
I need to. Well,
put it out there. Opening weekend. What do you say?
This is where I don't know enough about movies.
Well, we got some comparisons.
So we do have some comparisons.
Detective Pikachu, 54 million.
Right.
Quite small.
Opening weekend.
Opening weekend. Sonic 2, 71 million. Opening weekend.
Yeah.
Like, what's a really popular movie? Like Avatar.
I think if you get over the 100,
I
think if you get over 100 million the opening weekend, that's like really good.
Okay.
I'll say, gosh, I'm probably going to want to revise this later.
You cannot.
I don't know much about this. I'm going to say 125.
Oh.
What are you going to say?
I'm going to say 115.
Okay.
I think it's going to crack one.
That's still very
100.
That's still very high. And that would put it on the way to $1 billion.
Yeah.
And I stand by that.
I think it's going to be great.
I stand by that 100%.
I think their opening weekend is going to be massive.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
5-day weekend. Who wouldn't love that?
I'm going to start my weekend on...
It's weird that you can game this by just like, yeah, we opened 3 weeks ago, opening weekend.
It's like that thing like with every Chinese restaurant, how it's a grand opening for like 2 years.
Soft open?
No, it's a grand opening for like 2 years. I'm still grand opening this podcast right now. It's been a year, but whatever.
Yeah.
Still grand opening.
So interesting. Yeah, I think that was the first estimate that had come out. I wonder how many other people of these deadline-y types will put something out there.
Where's the variety? That's the one I look at the most for movie stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Where's that at?
I don't know.
Are they too highbrow to rate a video game movie? They're like, no, we only look at like A24.
I mean, we still got like
we only look at
2-3 weeks until this comes out, so they don't have to put that out.
Oh man.
Very close.
Hype! I'm getting excited for this.
We're very close, yeah.
I'm getting really excited. I can't believe it's happening.
Something you're maybe less excited for.
Oh, this is the best. But you put this on here for a very specific reason.
Is the KFC Double Down, which is one of the 2 ways you can get into the Diablo 4 beta.
You put this in here.
Why are you you're wagging your little chicken finger at me? Why is that?
Because I want you to tell people why you put this story in here. Tell the story.
Well, we'll get to it.
Oh, my Lord.
We'll get to it. So yes, there are 2 ways that you can get into the Diablo 4 beta. You can pre-order the game,
right?
Or you can buy a KFC Double Down,
which sounds disgusting. By the way, no judgment, but
quote sandwich that is just a stack of fried chicken.
It's 2 pieces of chicken with some like cheese in the middle and some other chicken.
I guess that's like a limited time. It's like their version of the McRib or something now. I don't know.
Who has eaten that? Honestly, please, I won't judge you. I promise. Just come out and tell me your reasoning for eating this and how did it taste for real. Truth time. Like, how did this thing taste? I want to know. And do you eat it like a sandwich?
Fork and knife this thing? Or like, will you actually just pick up this?
Exactly. Do you eat it like a burger?
I mean, I guess you pick up fried chicken with your hand. It's like, you just gotta have a lot of napkins nearby. Or a sink. Or a shower or something. I don't know.
A shower? A chemical shower? You need to be like spray down after you eat a Double Down?
I mean, I do like that this is associated with Diablo, which is about like disgusting zombies and blood flying everywhere. Maybe they should have done a promotion with Monster Jam, done a porta potty promotion with a Double Down.
Oh, that would have been great.
Yeah.
That's when you
synergy.
need the you need to go
exactly.
The old
That's the circle of life right there.
That's synergy.
By all accounts, this beta is quite good.
People seem to be loving it.
We may have missed our Metacritic prediction for Diablo 4. Or did you have a high one or a low one? I had a lowish one.
I think mine was kind of high.
I think yours was higher, so you might be right and I might be wrong.
Ha!
That's a first.
Yeah.
So yes. So why is Blizzard doing this partnership with KFC? Well, the head of marketing at KFC has a lot of experience in games. We should know because he was the old head of marketing at Nintendo.
That's right. He left Nintendo
right
in the midst of all of the the office closures.
Right.
He was also in our office. We knew him very well. And he went to KFC as like their head of marketing.
He's their chief marketing
CMO.
officer.
Yeah.
Moved to Kentucky and everything.
He really did.
He said, see you later. Good luck with this whole new thing.
He put on the white
Goodbye.
suit and he left. And I don't know if he put on the white suit. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. But yeah, it was like kind of a shock to us.
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He was like, actually.
Again, in the middle of this huge, tumultuous upheaval.
Yeah.
He was like, well, good luck with that. I'm out of here. Like, well, what? You were the guy who was like supposed to be shepherding this whole office to whatever is next.
This was like at a time where like things could not have been more real day to day. Like every day there was a new wrinkle in the updates of the office closure. Like we heard about the office closure, and then we heard about this other news, and then this other news, and this other news. And I remember I was on vacation on a boat in the middle of the Bahamas, and I got, I'm not kidding, like I think 30 text messages from people. I don't know how y'all even reached me while I was in like the Bermuda Triangle, but it was like, did you hear so-and-so is leaving, because he was like the head of marketing at Nintendo, to go to KFC, and I was like, excuse me, what? It was so good. But at that point, I was so used to some sort of shock and awe that I was like stone-faced in the face of
I sent a
change.
scathing email.
You were pissed.
To HR.
You were
after that,
so
like,
mad.
You expect us to go through this whole office transition, and the person who is supposed to be in charge of this is gone? Like, how is this acceptable?
Yeah, you
like
were
it
really
was,
mad.
but it was like way beyond that.
Yeah, I was on a boat, so I had more time to like sit with my feelings.
Well, more rum. Pass the rum.
Yeah, I was like eating like a bacon breakfast, and
you weren't eating a double down?
I was not.
No.
Contrary to popular belief, I was not eating a double down. But that was some crazy stuff, and like and we always laugh like whenever there's like a gaming partnership or something, because we know that he's behind it.
I don't know if I would put this much of the success of my huge beta in the hands of Kentucky Fried Chicken. You know? Like this is like a real important beat on the Diablo 4 pre-launch roadmap.
Yeah.
We need to nail this beta.
It feels like a joke when you do something with a sandwich, not even a sandwich, a menu item that's also a joke. You know what I mean? Like you're attaching your important game launch schedule to something that is like a meme factory. Like it's like a joke. So what does that mean? I don't know. Maybe people are like loving this and they're like, this is great. You know, it's
I just wouldn't try. I was like, you're going to have some problem like printing the code, or it's not going to work, or the employee's not going to know.
I just don't understand the audience segmentation here.
I just wouldn't.
Like, what is...
I'd be like, we'll do some... If you want to do some partnership, we'll do it later when the game's out. And it's less high stakes.
Yeah, what is the overlap of people that want to eat a double down and people that want to play the Diablo 4 beta?
We're not getting into that.
Tell me what that...
We're not getting into that.
What is the market research on that?
Yeah.
I would love to know.
Leave a comment.
I would love to know.
All right. I think they're extending that beta. Maybe we can try and get into that. Not by getting a... I'm not, because I'm not going to get the double down. I'm not going to pre-order the game.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't need a beta. Yeah. I'll play the game when it comes out.
Exactly. Yeah. So much for that.
I don't have time right now to play this game. I need this game to be delayed, but it's not. So it's fine.
Lastly, Resident Evil reviews. Resident Evil 4 reviews came out early, and
it was like right near us.
It's extremely high. It's a 93 on Metacritic. Yeah. We have to check in on our predictions because this was...
You're close.
We had this game extremely high. I predicted a 94. You predicted a 95. So I think a round of applause for the two of us for nailing that.
Yeah, we did it. Although if we were playing Price is Right rules, we would have busted. It's okay. Because we're over. We're over. But it's okay. It's okay. I think we're in the neighborhood of what this is. And yeah, we're both really excited about this game, I think. And really glad to see that it's doing really well on Metacritic, and can't wait to play it.
Yeah, some people wonder, like, well, how come this review came out early and this one doesn't? And it's like, they've got supreme confidence that this game is really good.
Exactly.
So they want to get the word out.
So they're hype. We're hyping it.
Get that accolades trailer out.
Oh, get going on that. Yeah, the accolades trailer.
Right.
The ever important accolades trailer.
Now they can tout these great reviews.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm very excited to play this on, I guess, Friday. What?
I have a question for you about a news story that's not on here that I just thought about right now.
Which one's that?
How do you feel about the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom pre-orders. How the Tears of the Kingdom one surpassed the Breath of the Wild pre-orders in Japan. Did you see that story?
Oh, is that new as of today? I'm not sure I saw that.
Yeah, I think that was like kind of like...
So the Tears of the Kingdom pre-orders in Japan.
Yes, surpassed Breath of the Wild pre-orders.
Well, that's like a guarantee because of, how many systems are out there. That was a launch game. Like, am I going to get a system? I don't know. I'm not going to pre-order this game unless I have a system or know I'm going to get one for sure.
Yeah.
So that's a cool talking point. It means nothing though.
That's what I wanted you to say, because I saw like so many people out there that were like, this is why everyone's like criticism or critique of Tears of the Kingdom is totally wrong, because these pre-orders are surpassing Breath of the Wild in Japan. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I don't think so, because it's like your install base is huge.
Right.
You don't have to sell them on a new system.
Yeah.
And
did you have 100 million Switches out when
sure didn't.
Breath of the Wild came out? No.
Exactly. And it's like such lower stakes than like getting a Switch and Breath of the Wild, right? And also like people know what they're getting into now. Like Breath of the Wild obviously was a good game, so you're getting into it. But I don't think it diminishes the fact that, all the things that we said about Tears of the Kingdom and like what that game might be and how it might not be like the magic that is Breath of the Wild. I don't think that diminishes that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, good on you for dropping that on me. Let's move on to questions from our Patreon community. Every one of our questions is sourced from our Patreon subscribers. Thank you so much for that. We begin with Alejandro. Hey, Kit and Krysta, what are some, quote, unselling points for you in games? For example, selling points that developers boast as good things about their games that actually detract from you wanting to buy the game.
Oh, yeah.
For example, for me, it's developers saying their game is super long, and just hearing that pushes me away from a game I might have been on the fence about.
Oh, yeah. I definitely agree with that. When I hear, like, this game is 100+ hours, like some of those RPGs.
There was that famous one, like Dying Light, where they just had, like, all these numbers, like 10 billion hours to do anything. It's like, that's a no. That's a nope.
I also don't like games that tout, like, collectibles. Like, I do not like this about Breath of the Wild. Like, you can collect, like, 999 Korok seeds.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to.
It's not what I'm here for.
It's not what I'm here for. Like, any sort of completionist model, like, I'm not here for that.
Yeah. I think we share one, which is any sort of ticking timer on the game.
No. I don't like that.
Majora's Mask.
No, don't.
What are some other examples of this? What's like that zombie game, Dead?
Left 4 Dead?
No, the Capcom zombie game on Xbox 360, Dead something, with the photographer guy. That game had a ticking clock where it's like, you can only do so much in the time you have. That game actually had some fun ways around that. But any time where it's like, you have a limited time to do your thing, or you have a limited time in this world, like that equals stress. I don't want to do that.
Used to be that any game that was like, there is only one hard mode and you have to do it in hard mode would be a huge turnoff for me, because I'm not strong at like games.
Yeah.
But ever since Elden Ring and the latest Metroid game, I'm like, no, I'm good now. Give it to me. I can play this game.
Okay.
So now I feel like I've gained some gaming confidence in the recent years, which I think it's good.
Yeah. The other one for me is like any game that's really like getting talky about their puzzles. It scares me. Yeah, because I'm too dumb for this. I can't do this. This is not for me. This is for a smart person, not me.
No.
So yeah, I don't have too many, but those are definite red flags for me.
Yeah. Or like anything that's too gory.
Oh really?
Oh, it's like, this got this goriest game you ever play. Like you'll never believe whose arm you need to saw off to like whatever, like that kind of thing. I'm like, I'm not sure I can deal with that.
I think some other people are the other. So we have a shared friend who would often ask me of like, so you're playing this game, like, is that really bloody? Like, what can you do in that game?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I remember I was playing like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and they had some very specific questions about
what does the blood look like?
What kind of atrocities can I do to these enemies?
What does it look like?
Like, okay.
Is that in the heart?
I'm a little worried about this line of questions.
Maybe I should move away from you.
So that can go both ways.
Yeah.
Brick Obscura is next. Did the marketing team at Nintendo of America have a reaction to this tweet by Nintendo UK? And if you can't see what this is, it says, know your Metroid in NES Remix 2. And there's a graphic of Samus.
So good.
It says, can't crawl. And then a Metroid, also can't crawl. Obviously, this is a reference to the great Miiverse.
Right.
Why can't Metroid crawl post?
that you said to a Metroid product manager.
The lead on Metroid Samus Returns in the treehouse. I made that reference in a Nintendo Minute video, and they just blinked confusedly
at you.
Right.
Maybe she doesn't know the answer to why can't Metroid crawl.
So, Nintendo UK, to use a local term, was very cheeky on their on their social media for a good long while.
Yeah.
And they would push the limits of things.
There was another, I'm not going to tell you exactly what this was, but there was another Samus-related tweet that they did that was...
Well, it wasn't them. That was a different region.
Oh, what region was that?
France.
Well, I mean,
that was France.
It's Europe. It's Europe, guys.
What's different?
Europe.
People, if you say that France is the UK,
no, I didn't
that is going to be the end of you.
I did not say that. I said they were all in Europe.
Europe is not the same.
They're a little bit more open.
I'm covering myself here.
In Europe. In Europe. In Europe. Not that I did not say.
They're not uptight, is what you're saying.
My point is, some of their commercials that we would watch.
Get a little hot under the collar looking at these commercials.
Wow. There was bedroom shots, but I was like, what happens when the switch turns off? We don't know. We do know. But anyways, they are, I think Europe as a whole...
Yeah.
They're a little cheeky. They're a little bit open. They're a little bit okay with some of these more like push the envelope kind of tweets.
Well, and it was things like where we would talk about it as a team. Like, gosh, did you see what Nintendo UK did? And it's like, yeah. And half of you would be like, yeah, I kind of wish we could do something like that. But on the other hand, it's like, eventually this is going to backfire and somebody in Japan's going to see it and get mad.
Well, that's what happened to the France one.
That's what happened with France. And now Nintendo of Europe, all their accounts are just as boring as the Americas. So.
Yeah. That Samus one, that France tweeted was like the last fun thing they tweeted.
That was like code red freak out.
You were like...
I was on the sideline. I mean, I was CC'd on all this stuff.
You were CC'd.
And I was just like, oh boy, that sucks for you.
You guys need to look up this tweet.
I had the high ground.
You really were. You were
in my ivory tower up on Mount Pius, at the top of Mount Pius.
I laughed.
Millions of feet in the air.
I looked at it and I laughed.
Not what I would have done.
But you hit that like
button. Monsieur.
But you hit that like button from that personal account. Like.
No.
You hit the heart.
No.
Oh my God. Anyways, please look it up. That tweet is hilarious.
All right, Bruce Dash is next. When Nintendo sent you and others over to places, did they provide individual hotel rooms for everyone, or did some people have to share rooms? Did Kit ever share a room with Reggie, for example? Any fun stories to share regarding this? Any loud snorers? Sharing a room with Reggie sounds fun, but I didn't get to do it.
Reggie was always in a suite, though, so
yes,
he could have slept on his couch.
So the company never had anybody sharing rooms.
That's right.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
Unlike some other gaming companies I worked at.
You did share a room with people, right?
Namco Bandai. That was kind of the assumed, if it's a big group trip, you're sharing rooms.
Yeah.
Glad to have moved on from that.
That's hard to share a bathroom with somebody that you work with, I think.
Yeah, or like people are just on different schedules, or people are, better or worse at like, hey, you're going to go to bed, I'm going to not turn all the lights on and make a ton of noise. That kind of thing.
Oh, boy. I am an only child, and the thought of sharing anything
probably
with
wouldn't have gone well for you.
Would have been unreal. I did have to share a room one time, not a room, but I did have to share like a house one time with a few coworkers, including both of your boss and my boss's boss. Uh-huh. It was a group of women, obviously, so it was not weird, but we were at a Sundance Film Festival, and there is no hotels there. Like, you cannot get one, so you have to share basically like an Airbnb kind of thing. Yeah. And everyone had their own room, but we had to share this house. Right. And there were some awkward moments, I would say, that I was not super big fan of. Like, I would prefer not to have to share any space with anyone because I don't like that, but I'm really glad that we never had to share something as close quarters as one hotel room, because that would have been pretty bad.
Yeah. Lucky there. Captain Cinnamon Buns is next. Hi, Kit and Krysta. I rewatched Xbox's own licensed docu-series on the history of Xbox called Power On, the story of Xbox recently. And it got me thinking about whether Nintendo would ever consider making their own documentary on their storied history. Do you think Nintendo would ever consider this? While you worked at Nintendo, did filmmakers ever approach the company about doing such a thing or about wanting to interview employees for their own documentary production? And if any reputable documentary filmmakers ever approached the both of you to do an interview to contribute to the story of the history of Nintendo, would you want to participate? Thanks and appreciate you both. All right, lots of layers of questions here. First of all, those Xbox documentaries are legit, and people should watch those.
Good, please watch
really
them.
Really good,
so
and
good.
like just brutally honest.
Yeah,
I
love it.
Yeah. All right, so layers to this. So would Nintendo ever consider making their own documentary?
So this was like a big point of like struggle and contention for us on the original content team at Nintendo, which was supposed to be this like, this team that came up with original programming that we would produce and distribute across our channels. And one of the big things that was always pushed was some sort of docuseries.
Right. Yeah, as of the time of our departure, the answer to this is absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we pitched this a lot of,
right.
Let us make this documentary. It could be very focused. That was always the concern of like, well, how does this apply to the current products? It's like, well, we could make it narrow enough and have it kind of lead up to what we're doing. And the answer was always no. Like there's
only one that was sort of like that, which was the Breath of the Wild series.
That was more of a making of.
Yeah, but that was like close-ish to the idea.
Yeah.
It was like as close to the idea that we could get to without them saying no.
Yeah, yeah. The year we had Link's Awakening at E3, we actually had a lot of the classic developers because they were working on other games. They were there. So I was like, we need to do either a documentary or like an oral history of Link's Awakening because we're never going to have all these people in the same room again.
Yeah.
So we wrote this great proposal, sent it to Japan. They were like, nobody cares
about
this.
Why would anyone want to see this?
Rejected. Yeah. It's like, come on.
The response was always so interesting to me because it wasn't like, oh, we don't want to do this. It seems like a lot of work, or we don't want to do this because of, resources.
It was like scoffing. Like, nobody wants this.
But the reaction was like, nobody in the public would want to see this, which was so deranged and just so far from actual reality.
Right.
And there's nothing you could do to convince them that they're absolutely wrong and that the public would
nothing.
Absolutely, the audience is there and hungry for this kind of content.
Yeah, and we
shocked me.
I mean, we proposed this. We proposed like, we'll partner with the gaming historian who is extremely rigorous, like has an actual history background to do it. And they're like, this is not something we should outsource. Yada yada. It's like they would just come up with an excuse to say no to any example. So that was a big no.
It was really sad.
Hopefully, with the museum, maybe they'll change their mind about that. Filmmakers approaching the company about being a part of their documentaries. Yes,
all the time.
And it was always just like, no, we're not going to be a part of this.
It was a blanket rejection.
So there was one on Netflix that came out a couple years ago, and they talked about, they found some like old gameplay counselors, like people who didn't work there anymore.
Right.
They were representing the Nintendo side of the story.
Which was kind of sad because that's a very narrow view of the Nintendo side of the story.
And it's the biggest story you're telling in this documentary.
I know.
There's also that book, Console Wars, which I have, but I can never get very into it because it's like 90% Sega. And it's like, well, this is not the side of the story that I want. And they got like Tom Kalinske, like all the big people from Sega to be a part of that book. And Nintendo's just like, no,
we're not doing it.
We don't care. We don't want to do it. So that's frustrating. If a filmmaker approached us, what would we say?
Yes.
I think we'd say yes.
Absolutely.
So if you're making your great high-quality documentary, drop us an email.
Give us a shout. We would love to be part of it. We have lots of stories that we could include in there.
Okay. Rev is next. Hi, Kit and Krysta. I hope all is well. I had a question about some of Nintendo's past announcements and was curious. Has there ever been a time when the public reacted drastically different to what you expected internally? Perhaps a game announcement everyone thought would be a hit, but ended up causing uproar, or an announcement you thought for sure would be a stinker, but everybody loved. If so, how did that information help you and the company as a whole decide the next steps to take and how it influenced future decisions, if at all? Thank you very much. I have a product, more than just the announcement, I want to eat crow on.
Oh, you do?
Because I was pretty loud when I first heard about this of like, this is not going to go well. And it was the NES Mini.
Oh, the NES Mini.
And let me tell you why. So at the time, there had yet to be a really high quality mini console.
Yeah.
There was like, you go to like Target or Walmart, and it was like this
janky.
little Atari controller that you would plug in, and
Mm-hmm.
it was like, and there was like a Genesis one. It's like, this is trash. This entire product category is trash. And if that's what we're gonna do, we are like debasing ourselves. We are stooping to the levels of this junk.
Of like just, of toy junk.
Obviously, though, that's not what that product was. And that product was the premium level of Nintendo quality that you expect.
Yeah.
So I said that when I didn't know everything about that product, but I still want to eat some crow because I was talking to I was like, we can't do this. This is gonna bomb.
Well, it bombed in another way, which is that no one could get one.
Any.
So it wasn't exactly what you were thinking they would bomb on, but it still bombed. But people wanted it, but they just couldn't get one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, the one that I think Nintendo really thought would be a huge success was anything in like the 2DS or the Switch Lite type of product line. It's like, we need to have
That's another one where I was really wrong. The 2DS.
Yeah, you were really wrong about that one too.
Yeah.
But like anytime you know, we have this thing, I'm always like real skeptical about it. Like no one's gonna want this, or like everyone's gonna want this. And it's like inside Nintendo, there's always this whole thing, this whole like marketing thing about like, oh, the family of systems. We gotta have every price point for every level of consumer, and they need to have a choice when it comes to the product. That was always the messaging. Give the consumer the choice, blah, blah, blah. No one wanted it. They just want the normal one.
Yeah.
You know?
The Switch Lite I can understand because you're taking out half the functionality.
Sure.
And it's not that much less.
Yeah, I think people do like the Switch Lite, but that was also like one of those announcements where like, oh, it's gonna stop.
The 2DS though, I really bought in. I was like, we're gonna explode after this. We're taking off now.
I know, but it was like totally.
It was fine. I mean, it wasn't a bomb, but
yeah.
it didn't happen.
Yeah, but it's always like that. Like you always think like any sort of hardware you put out as Nintendo would do like extremely well, especially at the height of popularity for 3DS. And the height of popularity for Switch, like sort of these lower end models, like it was sort of like a given at the company, like, oh, this is gonna be great. I worked on both those announcements, and I was like,
all right,
you know,
you were right.
I was right.
Fine.
The company does not learn though from it.
Planning this question to make me eat crow.
I do it.
Sadness is next. Hi, Kit and Krysta. Previously, you worked with or against press as internal marketing in Nintendo. Now you are the press. How has that new experience been? Do you find there are lots of similarities highlighting games in an exciting way, or has it been wildly different? Is press work similar to working with the press?
We don't do reviews, but...
Well, we would not say we're the press.
We're not the press.
We're not the press.
We're definitely not qualified to be journalists because journalists do so much research and they have to do so much work beyond just, you know, talking about the game. Right?
We say this about reviews, but it applies to everything. It's like it requires a certain amount of rigor that we're just not interested in having.
We're like
with
chatting.
this whole thing. Yes.
We're just chatting with you guys.
Right. It's like
we're shooting the breeze.
That's why like when like people like Jeff Grubb gets lumped into some of these other people sharing rumors, it's like, no, he has a whole different process.
Right.
For sourcing. Like confirming information before he shares anything.
Research,
and sure,
background.
He can still be wrong, but I feel more confident that he is going through the process.
Some process, right.
That will get him closer to the truth than these randos.
Right. That just takes any rumor at face value and puts out a clickbaity thumbnail and YouTube video, right? Yeah, I wouldn't say we're the press, but I will say that it is interesting to be on the other side of being internally at Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
That's something that's very real and very different for us. And honestly, I have really been enjoying it. Like, I think now, you know, it's cool to have like both the insider industry knowledge to know sort of what, you know, Nintendo is thinking and why they're making certain decisions. But I don't have like the pressure anymore of like, having to deal with it.
Yeah.
And also, I get to be surprised sometimes too. And that's kind of nice. It's kind of hard for 13, 14 years to never be surprised for a product and for, games that you really love. Like, you don't really get to experience it the same way, So I'm happy to have that kind of ability to do that again.
Silver6477 wants to know, hey, Kit and Krysta, what's your prediction on where Tears of the Kingdom will fall in your personal Zelda game rankings?
Okay.
So based on what we know now, where would you put
nothing.
it? Which is basically nothing.
No nothing at all. Top 10?
Top 10?
Top 6? No, probably top 10.
Well, can you narrow it down a little bit more?
I don't know if it's going to be near the top, honestly. I don't know much about this game.
Well, it's like top 10. Is it like bottom half of that 10 or
maybe like in
middle?
The middle?
So
maybe
like a five-ish.
5, 6, 7. Around that range.
All right.
Yeah. My top 3 is like pretty good. Like pretty set.
So those are what? Breath of the Wild, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess?
Correct.
Man, can't even get past Twilight Princess? That's sad.
Not a lot of things can get
sad
past
state
Twilight
of this
Princess.
franchise here.
I love Twilight Princess. Yeah. I would say Wind Waker's... Yeah, Breath of the Wild is 1, Wind Waker 2, Twilight Princess 3. Yeah, and then you got like Skyward Sword. It's going to be tough for it to crack 5, I feel.
Wow.
Unless it like
negativity
shocks me.
is
I'm not being negative, being honest. I don't, again, I have the right to revise because I don't know anything about this game.
Yeah.
I know that he
that's
has a
why
messed up arm
this is fun. Yeah.
and that he rides on a fighter jet that looks like an Iron Man invention. So
I'm going to say, for me, 3. So I have Breath of the Wild, I have Wind Waker, and then I'll put this there. Okay. I think just this style of game is much more appealing to me than, other kind of
Zelda games?
older Zelda games where there's the exploration, there's kind of more, make your own fun kind of stuff or do it your way.
Yeah, and less puzzly because you don't like the puzzles.
Yes.
See, I like the puzzles. I like the traditional Zelda dungeons, so,
Yeah, so that's my very uninformed guess.
Yeah. Okay.
vgmlife asks, hey, Kit and Krysta, the last mainline 2D Mario game was New Super Mario Bros. U in 2012. Wow, that's a long time ago. Is that right?
I think...
Wow.
Wait. Oh
amazing.
My gosh.
Whenever the next 2D game comes out, what type of art style do you want it to have? Should it retain the aesthetic of the new series, or should it transition to something else, like a retro pixel art aesthetic, the Mario movie art style, or something completely original? Thanks.
Oh, interesting question. Man, I miss 2D Mario. I actually was... when I was editing the Super Nintendo World videos, I was watching a lot of 2D Mario videos for like music.
Well, the music you chose was from New Super Mario Bros. U.
Exactly.
Which I initially was going to tell you don't use that because people hate that song.
I love that song.
Wah. People hate that.
Oh, the wah.
But then I felt like it fit the video really well.
And that's why I chose that song.
Yeah.
And that's why I was rewatching those trailers and videos because I thought Super Nintendo World reminded me so much of the new Super Mario Brothers series.
Yeah.
And I chose like the dungeon music from that series as well. And I was like thinking about that a lot recently. So it's interesting to have this question come up. I don't hate the art style for the new Super Mario Brothers series. Like I kind of like that bubbly, sort of like puffy look.
It's a little boring to me.
You think it's a little
boring? It's a little bland. So I would go with, I guess, like hand-drawn 2D Marios. Or like, what's that game? Wario Land Shake It, where it looks like somebody actually drew it and like colored it in.
Okay.
Like,
I feel like that's too close to the paper Mario.
No, like there's so much like great. That's always when Mario has the most personality, is like any of the hand-drawn stuff. Like the Mario 3 box art is my favorite piece of game artwork ever. Like if you could have it in that sort of style and you could animate it really smoothly, really nicely, have a lot of character in the backgrounds.
Okay, I can see that. It's like very colorful.
Could be great.
Very like sort of dynamic looking.
Yeah, they probably won't do that though.
Yeah. I don't mind like sort of that like more cinematic like movie type of look either, where it's like...
So you want the Mario movie look?
I don't really love that Mario though, but I like the backgrounds in the movie a lot. Like in the trailers, like when they had like the Mushroom Kingdom background and like that kind of stuff.
Claymation?
No, we can't do that because we already did that for Kirby.
That was also 10 years ago. We can do
yarn.
We can do things more than once.
We can't do yarn. We can't.
No, we're not doing yarn.
We can't do yarn.
Mario. No, we're not doing that.
We can't do yarn Mario. No. I don't know. I feel like that style can be like that 3D. I'm sorry, the new Super Mario Brothers style can be updated with some of the movie magic that they have to make it feel more interesting. But I don't mind that. I really don't. Like, I think it like feels, I don't know, it feels like modern to me. I don't know why. Anyways, that's maybe just me.
Okay. Last question is from Pikmin Sneezekov. Hi, Kit and Krysta. I'd like to ask you about the game I am most excited about, Pikmin 4.
Yay.
What are your thoughts on the nighttime exploration and the Dandori philosophy Shigeru Miyamoto mentioned? Perhaps it involves strategy. How you play during the daytime will influence the nighttime. What about those star bits? Do you think the player will be able to feed them to Pikmin, which gives Pikmin strength against aggressive nighttime enemies Pikmin would normally be weak against? Thank you, and if you have any fun thoughts about Pikmin 4, please share them with us. So, what do you think of the Dandori philosophy? Tell me right now.
I don't know if I know what that is. Do you? Did you look it up?
I don't know what that is.
Dandori philosophy?
I think we are not at the same level as Pikmin Sneezekov, where I would just like a Pikmin game to really click with me more than the series has so far. Mm-hmm. What are you doing right now?
I'm looking up Dandori philosophy.
Looking at your text or something? Oh. Because yeah, I have played every Pikmin game, and I can appreciate them for what they are. They do have one of those pet peeves that we mentioned before of the limited time.
The time. And the resources.
Yeah.
And the day and night. I don't like it. It's too scary.
Right, so the deck is a little bit stacked against it. I don't know why it necessarily needs those mechanics too.
Sure.
It feels like you could do a version that's a bit more at your own pace and leisure. What have you found out here?
Okay, the Dandori philosophy, for English speakers who don't know, is translated as arrangement or planning. So basically, the idea, I think, as it relates to Pikmin, is that you have to do like a lot of pre-planning and arrangement to maximize your play. Is my understanding. Like,
okay.
Please let me know if I'm butchering that to a native Japanese speaker, or if you have another definition of what this is. Tell me. But I think the idea is very core to the Pikmin gameplay, which is all around planning and like collecting your resources, planning your strategy of how you're going to get through, the day and night, the days and the nights, I guess. But I'm with you. Like, I have a really hard time getting into this game for a couple of reasons. I think that timer part of it, the things can run out. How the game is really dependent on that, like, is a turnoff for me.
Yeah.
And I can't stand it. I can't stand the Pikmin, the dying, the drowning, the being eaten, the being left behind. All of that just feels like too heartbreaking for me. Why did Mr. Miyamoto make this game like this? I wonder about that sometimes. I'm just like, it's so unlike him. I don't know. I feel weird about it.
Well, it's one of the few of his creations that has not been just a runaway smash hit.
I know.
And you can kind of sense that he's frustrated by that.
I know.
Because he's like trying his hardest to make it happen. He's out there wearing this Pikmin shirt, talking about Pikmin Bloom on this Nintendo Direct.
For like many minutes.
Talking to anybody about Pikmin. Like, if it was not him at the helm, like, I think people would have moved. They would have moved on from Pikmin.
Yeah, but I wonder why he feels so strongly about this.
Well, you should have asked him when you had the chance, shouldn't you?
I mean, I guess I should have.
Gotcha.
Maybe one day I'll see him again. No, it's never gonna happen. I hope he's not sad, because this game makes me a little bit sad, honestly, and I don't want to feel sad when I play games. Maybe it's just me, though. Maybe it's just me.
Maybe 3 games in, they've realized that maybe we need to shake this up and make this more appealing, because I have to imagine a lot of people feel the way we do.
Do you think so?
Because this game has not been a smash hit. We cannot say that it has. No. That's not true.
Yeah.
It's very, like, on the mid-level of Nintendo franchises.
Right. There's definitely some very passionate fans that understand and love the charm of this game. And there is so many charming things about this game that I like as well. But the core of it, like, honestly, this game makes me sad. And I don't want to be sad. Like, this is exactly why I don't play or watch The Last of Us, because I don't want to be sad.
Yeah.
And I cannot stand those little cries and the little ghost. Like, all of that is, like, extremely morbid. And I don't understand why it needs to be that way.
So, yes, that is our thought and hope, that it's just a little bit different enough that we can finally get into one of these games.
Don't let them die.
No. All right. That's it for our questions. Thank you again to our Patreon subscribers. Now we're on to shouting out our Patreon Superstar tier.
Yes! This is our highest tier, our most wonderful and involved Patreon members. And they help every week make these episodes.
That's right.
What they are that you guys hear.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start. Aaron Hash.
Ben Eichhorn.
MaruMayhem.
Eigenverse.
KissMyFlapjack.
Mike Chin.
Mr. Rogers.
Roy Eschke.
Switching it up, _
Sephazon.
TheSharkAmongMen.
vgmlife.
Link, the hero of wins.
Angela Bycroft and her pig Molly.
TurboChargeNerd.
Thomas O'Rourke.
Simon Barrera.
And Kyle LeBoeuf. All right.
Woohoo! All right, and let's go to our wonderful One Up Club graduation service. Aaron Burgundy.
Adam and Ansley.
Ajahn Malari.
Ale Alejandro.
Alexandra Pratt.
Astrodev.
Blazed and Enthused.
Bookem Dano.
Brad SF56.
Brooke Obscura.
Brookie Kazooie.
Bruce Stash.
Chancellor Fairley.
Shelly Squirrel.
Christopher Lay.
Cozy Tar.
Captain Cinnamon Buns.
Captain Alex.
C. Roper 17.
Daniel Cold.
Daniel Phillips.
Daniel Valencia.
Dachshund.
Desert Colt 18.
Doodoo Face.
Dolce Aguirre.
Dino Punch.
Elite Peach.
Sparts 50.
Fart Priest 69.
Furbound.
Fernie and Jess Forever.
Fox Deploy and his dog Bernard.
Fred Rossi.
Garrett Holfish.
Garth the Wolf.
Gartooth.
G-Sun 101.
Ian Shea.
Israel Izzy.
Jay Rando.
Jabroni Jones.
JK99.
JBJ.
Jeffrey Hernandez.
Jerry 92602.
Jesse Hernandez.
John Responte.
Jonathan Rowe.
Jordan Hemmerly.
Joseph DeHaze.
Joseph Quinn.
Joshua Clements.
Juji Fruit.
Julius Westenberg.
Just Camtro.
Kawa 2796.
Kelp Shake.
Kevin Delane.
Krisu.
Krista Ronnie Kidd.
Christopia Party With Me.
Kyle Gamer Berry Rookie.
Kyle Kretzer.
Kyler Nelson.
Linnell Stickman.
Lego My Froggo.
Lemma.
Lil Sebastian.
Lit.
Mad Dog 5981.
Marky Man 64.
Mecha Dragon 101.
Megan.
Michael Cravens.
Michael White.
Mikey.
Modamania.
Mr. Andy Pong.
MSM Poke Gamer.
Mr. Beans and Dip.
Mytran.
Nasir.
Nathan Burkhart.
Panda Buns.
Paul C. Pace.
Paul Gale Network.
Prime Factor.
Prince Charmless.
Reaver.
Rain Tech.
Ray Charon.
Ryuji Utsuha Okuu.
Renee Rivers.
Ryalf 1.
RJ Kern.
Rob Osborne.
Renana Rex.
Rocks.
Rianetta.
Sam Newland.
Sharif Jackson.
Shinryu.
Slowbro.
Schmiggles.
Shrews.
Silly Ferret.
Spicy Munchkin.
Steel Citrone.
Tales of Link.
Tefew.
Terra Storm.
Thomas Alvarez.
Topher Schmofer.
Travis Torline.
Troopage.
Tugs Puppy Bear.
Tuskoob.
Tyler Geist.
Video Game Stupid.
Virtual Bot.
Wicked Davy.
Will Ernst.
Will Johnson.
Zoodiverf.
Zelgara.
Zroid.
Yeah.
I really like Topher Schmofer. Thank you to our wonderful superstars and One Up Club member who are supporting us on patreon.com/KidKrysta. Don't forget to subscribe. That's where you can go to help us keep all of this going, to keep hearing industry insiders, reactions, and our inside stories. You got to go to Patreon to support us. All right.
If you are watching on video, you can really help us out by subscribing to this channel, leaving a thumbs up, and leaving a comment. If you are listening on audio, you can also subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and also leave a review.
And don't forget to follow us on the socials. We are on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook.
Another perfect episode. In the books.
In the books. Turning this laptop off. See you guys later.
Bye.